And now the next case.
All parties in the matter, Perkins versus Evans. Step forward, please.
16-year-old Jeremiah Perkins and his father Anthony are suing Jeremiah's schoolmate, 18-year-old Damian Evans, for breaking his tooth. Jeremiah says Damian stuffed him into a trash can.
Mr. Evans, how old are you, sir?
I am 18 years old.
And what do you do with your life?
I am still in high school right now.
And you know Mr. Perkins, young Mr. Perkins over
Yes,
here, don't you?
Yes.
Where do you know him from?
I know him from school and from track.
And how old are you, sir?
I'm 16 years old.
And this is your father?
Correct.
And your father is really suing on your behalf because, according to what I read, you were sort of horsing around. And you, Mr. Evans, was part of the horsing around process.
Yeah.
Put Mr. Perkins in a garbage can head first.
I did not actually put him in myself. There was a couple students involved in the situation.
Well, how many of you put Mr. Perkins in the garbage can head first, sir?
There were 3 students involved in the situation.
Just a minute. There were 3 students, who put Mr. Perkins in the garbage can. Not in the situation. This isn't a situation, Mr. Evans.
There was 1 student that put Mr. Perkins in the garbage can.
And who was that student?
That student was Austin.
Mr. Evans, I'm going to ask you that question again, sir.
Okay.
Because I don't want to make mincemeat out of you. How many students put Mr. Perkins in a garbage can?
1 student.
And you're saying that was not you?
Yes,
somebody
I'm saying
else.
that was not me.
All right. I would like you to show Mr. Evans this document and ask him if he signed it, please. Just to let him look at the signature. Is that your signature, sir?
Yes, that is my signature.
And I assume that having achieved the age of 18 years, that you know how to read?
Yes.
So do I. And this says, I knew it was a joke, so I joked back, and that's when Austin and I put him in a trash can. That's what you wrote.
Mm-hmm.
So which is true, sir?
The statement that you have is true.
So what you just told me before was not true?
No.
Oh, that was painful. Okay. So, you and somebody else put him in a trash can because you were joking around him.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. You got hurt.
Yes.
How did you get hurt, sir?
When I was in the garbage can, everybody was laughing. I was trying to get out.
Everybody was laughing.
Yes.
Because they didn't mean to hurt you. Is that right?
I didn't take it as that way.
You didn't mean to hurt him when you were acting like a fool, did you?
No, I did not.
So tell me what happened, Mr. Perkins. You heard them laughing and you were trying to get out. Your father is really enjoying this. Are you enjoying this?
Yes, ma'am.
Good.
Okay, I was trying to lift myself out, and the garbage can, since it was plastic, it was on concrete, and it slipped up under me, causing my tooth to hit the garbage can, which hit the concrete, and it broke, and it busted my nose.
Busted your nose and your tooth?
Yeah.
Now you can step up here for a minute, Mr. Perkins. It's cost you how much to fix your son's tooth so far?
Well, we have insurance, but the out-of-pocket cost is around $400 plus a lot of hassle.
Like what?
Well, the insurance that I had wasn't accepted everywhere, so I had to do a lot of traveling. Went to about 9 dentists to get a root canal, first of all, which required a couple of visits, a couple of x-rays, and then finally a temporary. We still haven't got, he's just a temporary on there now until we can pay for to get a permanent.
Tooth broken in half?
Yes.
70% loss.
70% loss. Oh, well, that'll cost you a pretty piece of change, but that's cosmetic, so you got a problem. But you don't have the problem. You know who has the problem? Mr. Evans.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, Mr. Evans has the problem, unless Mr. Evans can explain to me why he shouldn't have the problem. So, Mr. Evans, now that you understand that I am a truth machine, sir.
Yes.
Now you're going to convince me why you are not responsible for Mr. Perkins' dental bill.
1, because he started the whole incident with physical contact.
Tell me what happened, sir.
Me and my witness here, we were in the locker room talking, and Jeremiah came in from outside, and he said something to me. I'm not exactly sure what he said, and I said something back, which initiated him to come over to me and smack me in my face. So
how did he smack you in your face? Show me how.
It was like that.
Is that what they call mushing? What's a mush?
Mush is...
Yeah.
Like a mush?
Yeah. Kind of.
So part of your defense is that even if you are responsible for his tooth, Austin should be partially responsible.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
Maybe. You sue him because you're responsible. And I'm not making Mr. Perkins run around anymore to go find everybody else who's responsible. He's run around enough. 9 dentists is enough. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,000. That's all.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I'm sorry that he had to get injured. I didn't never mean for him to get injured.
He seems sorry, but you really can't tell.
It was just joking around. Somebody got hurt. That's what happened when you joke around.
Now I can get my tooth fixed and I can look normal.
20-year-old student Jennifer Klein is suing her former friend, 24-year-old ironworker Michael Rosenquist, for wrecking her car and then giving false information. Jennifer says his actions got her in trouble with the police.
Yeah, this is case number 177 on the calendar in the matter of Klein versus Rosenquist. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Gentlemen, have seats.
All right, the basic of this case has to do with the fact that Miss Klein says, Mr. Rosenquist, that you were driving her car. She was in the car with you at the time you were driving the car, and you hit another car. And then Miss Klein says that when you got out of the car, the driver of the other car and you supposedly exchanged information, or you gave the owner of that car your information.
That's correct.
Which Miss Klein says was false. As a result of that, she was hauled in by the police because the car is registered in her name and the owner had the license plate, and she got into some serious difficulty. So she's suing you for a whole bunch of things, including fixing her car, the other man's car, because she was originally going to be tried with hit and run. Is that right?
Yeah.
And your defense to the case is, if she didn't like the way I handle it, she should have taken care of it herself.
Well, if you're a driver, you know, you should, depending on what happened, you know, no matter what happened, I feel that she should
just
give...
a second, I got a feeling this is going to be one of those. One of those slippery things where he's thinking as he's talking. So we're going to get a real kick out of this. Okay? So let's pay attention. This is going to be like Comedy Central. All right, Mr. Rosenquist, let's start again.
Basically, I just feel that she should have had to give her information too, you know, just to follow through, you know, with the information that I gave.
So what you're saying is that... Are you chewing gum?
Yes, ma'am.
So basically, Mr. Rosenquist, what you're saying is if she didn't like the way I handled it, she should have handled it herself.
Yes.
You're a fast learner. First of all, let's go back. Why was he driving your car? Look at me. Don't smile. Don't smile, and don't give me a lot of baloney. Why was he driving your car?
Because he insisted on it, and he was checking to see if I had a noise in my car, and he was driving it to see what was wrong.
Was he a mechanic?
Yes.
Was he your mechanic?
No, he was a friend that was a mechanic.
He was a friend of yours. Was he a date? Had you gone
No.
out with him?
We're just friends, good friends.
And on what day was he driving your car?
I believe it was July 17th, 2002.
And how long had he been driving your car?
Probably 2 minutes.
Where did this accident happen?
He was taking a right into an apartment complex.
Why was he going into an apartment complex?
Because that's where his friend was at, that he wanted to go see if he was home. He takes a right, and the music was up kind of loud. I have a loud stereo. So he turned into the apartment complex, hit the other car, and the guy got out of his car, stopped us, and he got out of the car, started talking to the other guy. By the time I got out, he said that he had given him his information and that everything was going to be taken care of, that he was going to pay for all damages and for me not to worry about it. And so I calmed down, and we went back to his house, and I examined my bumper, which it had been scratched and ripped away a little bit, and he kept on assuring me everything was going to be taken care of.
What was the next thing that happened, Miss Klein?
A week later, he was talking to me, and I asked him if the guy had ever called him. He said no, he must have, you know, not really cared, not a lot of damage. And the next day, I get a phone call from my parents saying that the police called saying that I had been in a hit and run, and I needed to call Sherwood Police Department and work it out with them. So I called them. They told me that someone in the accident gave false information to the other driver, and so it's a hit and run, and since it's underneath my name, I'm the one responsible.
So what did you do?
I went to the police station, talked to them, and then they told me that they would put a warrant out for my arrest and arrest me if I did not bring him in. So I went and got him, and I brought him in.
What did you tell the police?
I told the police my version of the story.
Which was?
When we pulled into the parking lot, the stereo was loud, and I didn't even feel anything. It was kind of a heat, nah, dead serious. Did not feel anything at all. I don't know if it was because the subs were going or what, but pulled in the parking lot, and next thing you know, I've got this gentleman standing next to the window. I couldn't even really understand him very well, but I could smell liquor. We were at the river all day, and I actually was drinking too. And he was a little bit belligerent. I felt a little bit threatened, hence the false information that I gave.
So you gave false information?
The only false information that I did give was not my last name.
Well, what last name did you give him?
My mother's maiden name.
So you gave him misinformation?
Still, he got a hold of me.
You gave misinformation?
So be it.
Oh.
I didn't want a drunk person showing up at my house, endangering my family or myself, or anybody else for that matter.
What do you do for a living?
Iron worker.
How old are you?
24.
Do you go to church? I asked you a question.
Religiously?
Ever?
No. Yes, I do.
Do you know the name of a minister?
Do I? A few, yeah.
Good.
I know a few chaplains.
Just a second.
Sorry.
I'm way ahead of you. So if you were concerned that this belligerent drunk would contact you or go to your home, you say, listen, I don't know who you are, sir, so I'm going to give you the name of my minister. This is my name, and you can get in touch with me through my minister, and I will contact my minister, and we can make arrangements for me to fix your property through that. There are all kinds of ways to do it if you want to be honest. If you want to be dishonest and slick, you do what you did, which is give him misinformation so that he can't track you down. The only problem is he has her license plate number.
That's correct.
So she got in trouble. What did you do about it when you found out she got in trouble? What did you do?
I went down to the police station.
Did you take care of her car? The answer is either yes or no. Did you take care of the man's car?
Nope.
Why not?
That's what we're deciding here today.
We're not deciding anything. You already told her that you would take care of everything. You said, don't worry, I'll take care of everything. I gave him my information, I'll take care of it. That's what you told her. So you lied to her. Isn't that right?
Yes.
That means you're a liar. You also lied to me because you filled out this answer, which I read very carefully, which didn't say at all that you gave him misinformation. It says, he made it very tense, so I gave him my work address as a means of contacting me. So you gave me your work address, but with the wrong name.
Wrong last name.
Wrong name. What's your first name?
Michael.
Okay, let's see this. Bird, how many Michaels do you know? Just think. How many Michaels do you know? Do you know more than 2 Michaels?
I know more than 10 Michaels.
No more than 10 Michaels. What's your name?
Jeff DeMont.
Jeff! How many Michaels do you know?
More than 5.
What's your name?
Josh.
Better not be Michael.
Nope.
You know a couple of Michaels, Josh?
I know about 3.
We're not talking about a very, very odd name. We're talking about Michael. Michael. Right? And you work as an iron worker?
That's correct.
And how many people work in your plant?
My plant?
Where you work?
Where do I work?
Where you work. The plant where you work. Unless you do iron work in your backyard.
I build power plants and water treatment facilities. It depends.
So you must work with a lot of people.
Of course I do.
Any Michaels?
More than a few.
So let's not play with each other, Mr. Rosenquist. Miss Klein, I'm finished with playing with Mr. Rosenquist. He is a loser, and a dishonest one at that. So would you kindly tell me what your damages were?
First, I have a $75 ticket I had to pay because they gave me a ticket for failure to report an accident. Then I have an estimate of my insurance with my parents compared to one on my own now.
What do you mean?
Well, because of this whole entire situation, I was underneath my parents' insurance. And the accident was for the other guy's car was paid from my insurance company, and plus this extra ticket on my insurance too. So my insurance went through the roof.
He's not going to compensate you for that. You want to know why? Don't let somebody else drive your car. And if somebody is driving your car and turns up the blasters up so that you can't hear yourself think and you can't hear yourself have an accident, then that's your problem.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today, Line says former friend Michael Rosenquist owes for wrecking her car and then giving false information.
You want to know something else? I'm adding on the $75 ticket, $500, because that's what I think your afternoon of having agita was worth when you had to go down to the police station after your parents being called and told that you were being charged with hit and run unless you went down there because he lied.
Okay, thank you.
And that's what I think it's worth, other than taking care of the other person's car. Now, did you do that, or did the insurance company do that?
Excuse me, can you repeat that?
Did your insurance company cover the other man's damage, or did you?
No, the insurance company did,
Fine.
and that's the reason why.
What about the damage to your car?
I only have liability, so it didn't cover my car.
Is it a scratched bumper that you had fixed or that you didn't have fixed?
I haven't been able to get it fixed because my insurance has been so expensive. I haven't had a car for 10 months. And
you haven't had a car?
Well, I've had the car, but I haven't been able to drive it. I haven't been able to afford it being a college student. But I got an estimate, which is $586.50.
To fix the bumper?
Yes.
So he's going to pay you $75 for the ticket and $500 for either your aggravation or the bumper. Do you understand? Do you understand?
Yes.
$575, judgment for the plaintiff. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I think it went well. I'm happy that I got something, at least.
She knows that I was drinking all day long at the rivers. I mean, she was right there with me.
He continuously told me that once he got a job, he was going to reimburse me, and I never saw him or the money after that.
Lost a pretty good friendship over it, and, it's taken a lot of time out of me.
19-year-old homemaker Misty Hamilton for the return of money she paid for a car and for masterminding a violent assault.
Your Honor, this is case number 218 on the calendar in the matter of Lewis versus Hamilton. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated, gentlemen. Have seats.
Miss Lewis, your complaint indicates that you purchased a used car from the defendant. You purchased it from her for $2,000 with the understanding that she would give the title to you because she'd had some trouble with motor vehicles and getting the car titled, or she didn't have the title. She was going to get you the title. You gave her the $2,000 and she gave you the car. Your complaint is really twofold. She repossessed the car, but before she took it back, she tried to have another relative of hers steal it back, and that person is now incarcerated for carjacking. Is that right? Ms. Hamilton says she didn't know anything about this carjacking business, but that you didn't agree to buy the car for $2,000. The $2,000 was merely a down payment, and she sold you the car for $5,000. Is that right?
Yes.
And you didn't make the rest of the payments?
No, she did not.
How did you know her?
She's been a family friend for about 8 years now.
And when did you find out about this car?
The night before she was, well, I knew about the car before, but she had someone buying the car from her previous to her going to Mexico. And
So she was planning to leave the country?
To go to Mexico. And she asked me the night before she left. They had their other car already packed and ready to go, and the person that was buying the car backed out from it.
What date was that?
That was on the 7th of December.
What date did you leave for Mexico?
I left the 7th of December.
Okay. And is that the day that you made the arrangements with Miss Lewis to purchase the car?
No, it's not.
When did you make the arrangements with Miss Lewis to purchase the car?
The 6th of December.
Okay. How come you didn't make plans before to sell the second car that you didn't need? Is not an answer. Just give me the truthful answer. Is she correct that you had another purchaser that backed out?
Yes.
Let me explain something. Don't try to think ahead of me. You're not going to be successful. Okay. So on the 7th, you gave her the $2,000. Where did you get the $2,000 from?
It was actually my money, but it was in my father's account.
Who was this?
My father-in-law.
Then what happened?
Well, the original agreement, I would like to clarify this. was she was selling the car originally to the first buyer for $3,800. Well, she came at me needing the money to go to Mexico, the $2,000. So I said I'd give her the $2,000, and then there was a discussion about payments for. She was asking for the $3,800, but she was so desperate to get the money to be able to leave for Mexico, she just wanted the $2,000 then, and we would discuss payments later.
So it was an open-ended amount? Is that what you're telling me?
Well, it wasn't the $3,800. It was.
Look at me. Try looking down there. Look at me.
I was looking at me. It wasn't the $3,800. It was the mechanical expenses. She knew that I didn't have a job at the time, that I couldn't make any payments. I was actually on Social Security because of my knee. And so she knew I didn't have a job. She said she wasn't worried about payments. All she wanted was the $2,000 to get to Mexico at that point.
When did she come back from Mexico?
I believe she didn't get back until the end of January. I couldn't tell you exactly what day.
What happened in January?
Nothing really happened in January except for when they came back. I guess her husband had problems getting over the border. I guess, from my understanding, hearsay, that he's not a U.S. citizen, and that they had to pay extra money getting him across the border. Well, they needed the money desperately, and they wanted money from me, and they were. She was actually nice when I talked to her about it, but he actually demanded it from me, and I said no.
What did he say?
He said that he needed the money now.
How much did he say?
He said he needed, at that point, he said he needed $5,000. At that point, he said he needed $3,000 more on top of it, which was never.
Do we have a husband here?
No, he's in prison.
For what?
I'm not too sure. He got in a car wreck in California and got in
So
trouble.
the husband at that point told you that he needed another $3,000.
Yes, this was actually going into February at that point. It was.
And you said?
I said no, that wasn't the deal. I let my fiance Eli. He talked to him and discussed it with him.
Was this conversation that you had with him over the phone or in person?
It was in person. I went to his house to talk to him because I wanted to clear things up as far as the agreement that I had made with Misty.
When was the car carjacked?
On February 26th. It was attempted. I actually hit him to the point that he was sidetracked enough for a guy to pull him out of my vehicle.
Who's the him?
Which is her cousin.
He related to you?
Yes, he's my cousin.
You think it's coincidental that he's in jail now for attempted carjacking?
Actually, I had no idea that he did that. I didn't find out until the next day that he did that.
Well, who do you think put him up to it?
I think he put himself up to it. He thought if I got the car back that I would sell it to him. So he did that on his own.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Lewis says former friend Misty Hamilton took back her car. Michelle also says Misty arranged for her to be carjacked.
Do you have any proof that she had anything to do with this attempted carjacking?
The DA that's picked up this case is taking quite a big interest in the fact.
So that case hasn't gone forward yet?
They've actually postponed it.
Then I'm not hearing that part of your claim. Mm-hmm. When did she take the car back from you?
On March 8th.
Where is the car now?
I traded the car for another car.
What did you do with her $2,000?
I didn't do anything. I never received the money. My husband received the money.
Is that true?
The checks were made out to her father, which were Western Union to her in California at
How do
her
I know that?
grandmother's. I have the receipts right here.
That she signed for them?
No, I don't have the Western Union receipts. I gave Randy the money, and I drove him to Western Union, but
Who's
I didn't.
Randy?
Her father.
Father?
Yes.
Step up. Who did you send the money to?
Edgar Hernandez, her husband.
Her husband?
Yes.
Why didn't you send it to your daughter?
Because it wasn't her money. It was Edgar's.
What do you mean it was Edgar's?
Yes.
I said, what do you mean it was Edgar's?
Well, that's who the car originally belonged to. So I sent it to him in Mexico.
Ma'am.
Show me.
I have a police report where she tried doing this. She actually did this to somebody in November that I later found out about. She got money from him and took the car back on a stolen vehicle.
This car?
This car. I found this out later on January 26th, actually. I went to the Springfield Police Department.
All I have to do is ask you this question. I really don't even have to go there. I'm just sort of curious about what kind of people I'm dealing with. Now, I understand. I don't even have to look at this. You knew that she had given your husband $2,000. Is that correct?
Yes.
For this car. Is that correct?
Yes.
And it was taken back by whom?
It was taken back by me.
Okay. It was taken back by you. Why?
Because we had made an agreement before I left to Mexico.
Let me hear.
For which $2,000 down. Total price we wanted was $5,000.
You are lying, madam. You want to know why you're lying? Do you know what this is?
No, I don't.
That's a blue book. Your car isn't worth $5,000.
Okay, but that's what we were asking for the car. Was
You're lying. You're a liar. And if you continue to say it again, I'm going to show you how I know you're a liar. I'm going to read this, which I wasn't going to before. So let's figure out. You've got a husband who's in jail. You've got a cousin who's in jail. You were going to sell your closest friend at the last minute. At the last minute, when your previous buyer backed out for $3,800, you were going to sell the car to her for $1,200 more. That's what you want me to believe, right?
I don't get $1,200 more.
38 and 12 is how much?
5,000.
Right. So you were going to sell it to somebody else for 3,800. They backed out. So you're going to sell it to your close friend for $1,200 more than you were going to sell it to a stranger for. Do you understand, or was that too quick for you?
No, it wasn't.
Do you understand?
Yes, I do.
And is that what you want me to believe?
I'm just telling you to choose, Your Honor.
No, you're not. When you lie and you get caught, you get humiliated. Do you understand?
Yes.
Now, if you said to me, I told her I would sell it to her for the same price as I was selling it to the other person, $3,800. She didn't pay it, so I took the car back. I could buy that. But when you lie and say I was selling it for more than you could get from any other normal human being, and she's your friend, that says to me you're a liar. And I'm not so sure that the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, because when he says he sent the money to Edgar, I'm not sure I believe that either. Because why would he send the money to Edgar? It seems to me this car has been bought and sold often. Very often. Now, if you want to repossess the car, take it back, for whatever reason, and you traded it in and bought yourself another car. Is that right?
Exactly.
So you used, Ms. Hamilton, the money that she paid for the car to enrich you, not Edgar. Do you understand that?
Yes.
You can't do that. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,000. That's all. Get him out of here.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Wow. I was asked for more money than what I had agreed to because of their negative lifestyle.
The whole idea was $5,000. That was to anybody who wanted to buy the car.
We see each other, but we don't really talk.
I told the truth, and the judge didn't want to hear it. She wanted to accuse me of being a liar when all I was doing was telling the truth.
There was no peaceful resolution to it. I tried.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Krezakowski versus Suggs. Step forward, please.
United States Marine Joseph Krezakowski is suing his ex-girlfriend, 26-year-old lease administrator Amy Suggs, for her share of a credit card debt.
Mr. Krezakowski, you claim that the defendant, who is your former girlfriend, owes you for some credit card debt.
Yes, ma'am.
The defendant says that, yes, in fact, she did agree to pay half of the credit card debt that the two of you had accumulated while you were together, but then she had second thoughts about it after she made some payments, and she feels as if she should not have to pay that because she was sort of pressured into making the agreement. Is that your defense?
Not exactly.
Well, what's your defense?
There were extenuating circumstances when we separated, and I feel like I was taken advantage of in the situation. Not necessarily that I just decided I didn't want to make payments anymore.
Well, let's start with the fact that the two of you lived together.
Yes.
And that you had this credit card that had built up how much in debt, sir?
When we separated, it was at $6,500 and some change, ma'am.
And you agreed to split that debt in half?
Yes, ma'am, we
Is
did.
that correct?
Yes.
And you separated when?
About the 20th of July of 2002, ma'am. Or of January.
20th of January?
Yes, ma'am.
And you did make payments up until March of 2003?
Correct.
And then stopped?
Right.
Okay, now explain why.
When we separated, I was in a situation when I was in North Carolina with my son, an 8-year-old, by myself. Joe had made reference several times to being in relationships before where everything had been taken away from him. I needed to get out of the relationship, and I was concerned that when we separated, it wouldn't be as easy as I wanted it to be. Not only was I alone in North Carolina, but I had no friends there to help me in my situation. When the discussion came up about us separating, I agreed not to take anything with me that he would have to replace, and I agreed to pay half of the credit card.
What do you mean you agreed not to take anything that he would have to replace?
Well,
what did you take with you?
I took my son's bedroom furniture, my personal belonging, my clothing, some extra dishes.
You took dishes. Go ahead. What else?
And I believe I took a hope chest, a cedar hope chest.
Anything else that you took, sir?
She took the computer and also a china hutch for the kitchen.
Does that sound familiar?
Yes, yes.
You left the computer out, and you left the china hutch out, right?
Right.
Was the computer purchased on the credit card?
It was purchased on a totally separate credit card that was already paid off by this time, ma'am.
Was anything that was taken by the defendant items that had been purchased on the credit card?
No, ma'am. Basically, the credit card was used for both our children's Christmas and birthdays and things for around the house.
Okay. You haven't convinced me so far, Miss Suggs. All I hear is a lot of excuses. You want to take one last shot?
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
When we separated, majority of our furniture that we had accumulated together, we either brought into a relationship or bought while we were together. He kept all of it. I don't have anything to show for that. A few measly pieces of furniture.
Did you ask for anything else?
I wanted more things, but I wasn't in a position to ask because I was by myself. I didn't know how he would react, how he would respond.
Well, then you didn't ask for it. Then you took whatever you said you wanted.
Not only did I have to refurnish an entire apartment, I paid him $1,300, in addition to the fact that at the time we separated, he was making probably twice as much as I was.
All of those are excuses. You were living together as a family. You had a child. Did you have children?
I have a son from a previous marriage that doesn't live with me, but he'd come and visit, ma'am.
Your son would come and visit, and your child lived with you. So you had this credit card that was used for your family. He agreed to pay for half. You agreed to pay for half. And I was right when I said later on, after you made some payments, you had second thoughts.
No, I didn't have second thoughts. All along, I felt like I had been taken advantage of.
You made the deal. Live by it. Stop being a crybaby. You made the deal. That's the deal. Stop having second thoughts about it. How come you didn't have second thoughts and say, you know, I really should give him the entire amount? How come it's always, I have second thoughts, I don't think I'm going to give him anything?
Because I didn't trust that he would leave me alone. I gave him all
that's
the furniture and
unfortunate,
made
madam. You haven't told me any reason why you didn't trust him. Because he had another bad relationship where he ended up on the short end of the stick financially? That was your reason? Miss Suggs, be a grown-up. You made the deal. You live by it. The check will be drawn to the card company, which will clear your credit, sir, of $2,481.65. That's all. Step out.
As I excuse, you may step out.
I'm just glad to see it's all over with and I won't have to deal with it anymore.
It wasn't really too bad until, like I said, in March when she decided to stop making payments. Everything was going okay until then.
I felt like I was taken advantage of, and I still do.
She needed to find herself and move.
Sworn in, you may be seated, sir. Have a seat, please.
Miss Whitaker, this young lady is your niece. She is the daughter of your brother, and that's her mother?
Yes.
And it is your claim that the defendant took your laptop computer, refused to return it, as a result of which you finally did get it back, and you had to have it fixed. You want her to pay for the repairs to your computer and the loss of property, which were pictures that were on the computer because you had to have the hard drive wiped clean because she refused to give you the password. The defendant, that is this young lady, is suing for the return of the computer. She says the computer is hers. I'd like to see the bill for the computer when it was purchased. So it was purchased approximately 3 years ago. What kind of computer do you have now in your home?
I have a laptop. It's older than this one. I bought this one because the older laptop was damaged. I didn't think it could be repaired.
Just a second. When did you buy that one?
This one I bought in June of 2012. That's the receipt for this one.
What do you use at home now?
A different laptop.
When did you purchase that laptop?
Before this one.
When before?
I don't remember.
A year before? 2 years before?
Maybe 2 years.
And you bought that computer for your own use?
Correct.
Do you have a daughter?
Yes.
At any time did you allow your daughter to use this computer?
Yes.
How old is your daughter?
Now 26.
Other than this computer, did your daughter ever use another computer?
Yes.
What other computer did she use?
A desktop.
So that this computer was the only laptop that your daughter had. Is that correct?
It wasn't hers. She used it.
My question was, this is the only laptop that your daughter used?
Yes.
I ask these questions specifically because the defendant says that your daughter was arrested, which is, I assume, true.
Yes.
She was arrested for burglary. Is that also true? And when was that?
August 1st, 3 years ago.
So a couple of months after you bought the laptop.
Correct.
Now, at that time, who is this person?
My brother.
Was your brother living with you? Did you have contact with him?
At what time?
2012, August of 2012.
Yes.
And you're her father.
Yes, ma'am.
Would you stand up, please? Your last name is?
Rising.
Mr. Rising, did you ever have use of this computer?
When I lived with my sister, yes.
Starting when? So you lived with your sister.
Yes, ma'am.
From when to when? No, don't. If he doesn't know the answer, he'll say to me, I don't know. Then I'll ask you.
I can't tell you the exact day I moved in.
Month.
August?
So at about the time that her daughter was arrested.
Yes, I came to help my sister raise the child that her daughter had.
So her daughter had a child, and her daughter was incarcerated as a result of the burglary.
Yes, ma'am.
Because according to what I read in the answer, she was foolish enough to burglarize the sheriff's house.
Kind of, yes, ma'am.
Yeah, that would be a big mistake. And how long was she incarcerated?
She still is.
She still is. So she has no further use of that computer.
No.
So when your brother was living with you, he had use of that computer, and you were using a computer that you had purchased
Previously.
2 years before.
Right.
And your brother was using this computer.
Yes, until he bought his own.
That's fine. I'm just getting all the facts down so that I'm perfectly comfortable with them. Now, at some point, Miss Whitaker, your niece came into possession of the computer. In what month and year?
In August of 2014.
2 years after you purchased
Yes.
it. And during those 2 years, your brother was using that computer and you were using your computer.
Well, I used this computer temporarily until I got the computer that I like better fixed.
No, I don't believe that.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, fine. What were you doing with the other computer, the desktop computer?
That he was using.
Well, he says that he was using this computer.
He used both. I have a desktop and I have a laptop.
No, you had two laptops and one desktop.
Yes. One
You
desktop.
had two laptops and one desktop and
Correct.
2 people.
Three.
My
Who's the
husband.
third?
Her husband.
Well, he's not here, so he can't tell me what he uses, if anything. Now, I want you to tell me how, in August of 2014, your version of how your niece came into possession of the computer.
She had come up to see her father, was staying at my house, and I was sitting in my living room, and my brother and my niece came into the living room and said to me, Angel is having problems at school. She wants to be homeschooled. The only problem is they don't have a computer. Angel wants to know if she can borrow your computer. I said, I'm going to have to call your mom. So I called. I said, Angel's wanting to borrow my computer. She's telling me she's having problems at school and that you don't have a device that will support the downloads. Valerie confirmed, yes, she's having problems in school. No, we have an old desktop that won't work with it. So I said, okay. So I gave the computer to Angel, and I said, okay, you can use it for school, but when you're done, I need it back. Okay, fine.
And that was in?
Late August
of
2014.
2014.
Yes.
And how long did she have the computer?
I finally got it back in May.
When did you ask for it back?
In April.
August, September, October, November, December, January, February, March, April. So she had it for 8 months.
Correct.
Incorrect. I'm sorry. She had it almost 2 years.
Just so you have a chance. Okay. So she had it for 8 months.
Right. And I had seen her in, I don't know, late January, early February. How's school going? You still need the computer? Oh, school is great. It's working out fine.
Okay. So
then in April, she had posted something on Facebook that said, check out my Twitter. So I did. And I saw a post that said, I hate when you let somebody use your computer and they break it. So I sent her a message back. I said, you know, I certainly hope that's not my computer you're talking about. And she responded by blocking me. So I sent her a message on Facebook, and I said, I need to get my computer back. Please, you know, call me to make arrangements. And she said, well, I don't live with my mother anymore. It's at my mother's house. I live in Sarasota. You can get it from my mother. And then there was a lot of back and forth about how I was going to get the computer back. And finally, my brother went down and got it for me. So he brought it back to me. I plugged it in, turned it on, password protected. So I asked Angel for the password, and she messaged me something vulgar. And I said, well, I'm going to have the computer repaired. I'm going to have it wiped clean.
Why would you repair a computer for hundreds of dollars that you paid $300 for?
I paid $170 to have it repaired.
I don't care. Why would you pay hundreds of dollars to have a computer? You're suing her for $671.20 for a computer that is now 3.5 years old that you paid $300 for.
Because
why?
Because when I was using this computer, I had pictures and videos of my grandson on it that that are irreplaceable.
Well, let me explain something to you. Then you shouldn't have used that computer. You should have used the computer that you were looking at, if I believe you. If I believe you. Because that's why I asked all these preliminary questions. You had your computer that you were using. Your brother says he was using this computer when he was living with you, when he moved in at the same time that your daughter went to prison. So you have your computer and you have a laptop. And your only real damage is what you say is the irreplaceable pictures of your grandchild, which I wonder why you were taking with a computer that you weren't regularly using. I have my little iPad. My husband has a little iPad. My children have their own. They never take videos on my iPad. They take videos on their own phone, on their own iPad. They don't say, can I use yours? That's ridiculous. I don't believe you, Ms. Whitaker. I don't believe you.
I can answer the reason why, ma'am.
I had a computer. I spilled coffee on it. I didn't think it could be repaired. So I went and bought this one.
Let me explain something to you. If you think that I am awarding you $600 for a computer that maybe is worth $25, that's not happening.
It's not the computer. It's the memorabilia. It's the pictures and the videos.
You're paying for pictures? Just a second. Just a second. I don't believe you.
Angel Overton and her mother, Valerie, owe for breaking her laptop. Angel is countersuing, claiming Patricia stole her computer.
Okay, I don't believe you. I don't know what caused this, and quite frankly, I really don't care. I really don't care. I don't know what you're angry at, but would I sue my niece over a 3-year-old computer that minimally has not been in my possession for 8 months, and you haven't missed the videos and the pictures of your grandchild for 8 months? Because it's very easy to say, you can take it, but would you please forward to me the photos and the videos so that I can have it on my desktop? I can have it on my laptop. None of which you did for a period, according to you, of 8 months. They're going to tell me that they had the computer for longer, right? 2 years. And you're going to tell me that your father gave it to you. I also don't care about that. What I don't understand is, where do you think you're entitled to $600 for a piece of equipment that at this point is, according to my husband, who says every 3 years you need a new laptop, obsolete?
Because of what was on it.
And I don't believe there was anything on it. Because if there was anything on it that was valuable to you, you would have had it transferred, which is a very easy thing, to have it transferred before you gave it to her to use. All you do is press forward and send. You have pictures? Forward, mail it to you on your desktop, which according to you was working just fine. Now, if I believe you that you spilled coffee on yours, you were getting it fixed, blah, 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 all that other stuff, you must have had it fixed over the 8-month period that she had it. And the only time you got your nose out of whack, Miss Whitaker, was when you saw that the machine was broken on her Facebook page. Then you got your nose out of whack. So your case is dismissed. That's all. Thank you.
That's not true.
Excuse me, we do have a counterclaim note for harassment.
Goodbye.
We have a
evidence
counterclaim,
here,
though.
Your Honor, you're not even
really?
looking at.
We came all the way.
Goodbye.
Your Honor.
Just a second.
We came all the way here
Just a
so
second.
you can hear us.
You are shouting at me, and what I'm telling you is this is a ridiculous claim, and you wouldn't have filed a counterclaim unless they sued you. I'm not hearing it. Do you get it?
Sworn in, you may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat.
Miss Elliott, how long have you had your dog?
For 4 years.
Did you get it as a puppy?
Yes.
Ever had any difficulty with your dog?
No difficulties with him.
Dog ever been involved in a fight?
No, he's a very mild-mannered dog.
Any dog ever attacked your dog?
Besides Mr. Stevenson's?
Yeah.
No.
Now, you were walking your dog on January 13th, 2015, at about 7 o'clock at night.
Yes.
Why were you walking your dog with a bat?
Because I'm a girl and I'm walking my dog in the neighborhood. There's other dogs, people, just for protection for me and my dog.
If your dog had never been in a fight and nobody ever bothered your dog, I just don't understand. I mean, I see lots of people walking big dogs. You have a pit bull.
Yes.
Right? And I see people walking with pit bulls without bats. I'm just curious. I assume the dog is attached to you, wouldn't let anybody get near you, right?
He's a little goofy.
I'm just curious as to why you had the bat.
Well, like I said, I've seen stray dogs in our neighborhood, and I just don't want to be caught off guard if he's ever.
Is your claim that the defendant's dog attacked yours? He tells a whole different story. Oh, tell me the story.
Okay, so I was walking my dog down 6th Avenue, and I was 4 houses down, and I noticed Mr. Stevenson and a female unloading items from a van in the street, and their gate was open, and his German Shepherd was outside the gate with him at the van. And he was carrying like either toilet paper or tissue paper, and I immediately stopped, and I noticed the dog, so I stood there and waited to see what he was going to do.
So you stopped about 4 houses away?
Yes, I did. And like I said, I'm very familiar with the area, so I know where all the dogs live. And I stopped and noticed him carrying the items, and his dog saw us, and his dog immediately charged at us, and I started screaming, "Get your dog, get your dog." And he never even really showed any interest. He kept the toilet paper he was holding.
What was your dog doing as his dog started to charge?
My dog was standing by my side on the leash, because his dog was not on the leash. And I was immediately like backing up, grabbing my dog, and his dog just charged at my dog, and he went for his neck. And they started fighting, and I was actually still holding the leash on my dog. I was like pulling him, and his dog just had the upper hand on it. So finally I let the leash go, and they started fighting, and I grabbed my bat and was hitting both dogs. I hit my dog as well, hitting both dogs with the bat, and nothing was stopping them from fighting. Mr. Stevenson never even showed interest coming down the street. He yelled for the female to go get something. And so he comes casually.
He yelled at the woman that he was with?
Yes, he yelled at the woman. He casually comes walking down. He didn't run, he walked down, and I was like, "Get your dog." And he was like, "Well, I can't get him." And so we were trying to pull the dogs apart from each other. And at some point, I was able to get the dogs apart because Mr. Stevenson never jumped in. But he still didn't have the dog on a leash or had no control of the dog. So I had my dog, and at this point, we were like, there's a gate by the house, but it doesn't have a...
Gate by which house?
The gate by the house where I stopped.
Show me where that is.
Sure. So this is Mr. Stevenson's house, and this is where we were. And this particular house has a iron gate, but there's no closure to it. So we were like right at the tip of her gate, and the neighbors came out and everything, and again, his dog charged my dog again. And at this point, when his dog charged my dog, they both knocked me down, and I was at the bottom of it, and that's when I got bit. And Mr. Steven was sitting there, and I was crying. And Mr. Stevenson was sitting there laughing like, "Why are you crying? Your dog got the best of my dog. That's what dogs do. They fight. And I don't understand why you're so upset." And he was really mocking.
He's an idiot, if that's true.
Absolutely.
I mean, he would be an idiot.
Absolutely.
Right? You would be an idiot if, if that happened, right?
Yes, true.
That would be an idiot. I mean, if you see that there's a struggle and that she's struggling, and that you say, that's what dogs do, they fight, that would make you a fool.
Yes.
Perfect.
And then another neighbor came out and said, "What's going on? What's going on?" He's like, "Oh, she has a pit bull, so of course her dog locked on my dog's face, and she's upset." And he's like, "I don't understand why she's so upset." And like I said, I was crying. I was on the phone with my friend at the time when all of this happened. I was on my Bluetooth, and he heard everything that was happening. He was like...
Well, don't tell me what he heard, because it's not admissible, it's not important.
Okay.
You told me your story. Your dog was injured.
Yes, and I was...
Well, you were injured.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you see a doctor?
Yes, ma'am.
You have all those reports?
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to see them.
Sure.
By the way, who are you?
Rosalind Broussard. It's my house that my boyfriend was at.
Okay. Were you the woman who was outside?
Yes.
Great.
No.
No.
No, she was not.
What did this woman look like?
She was a heavyset white female.
Who was that?
I have no idea.
Okay. But this is not the woman?
Absolutely not.
Vet bills and hers.
Thank you. Did you ever find out whether his dog is up to date on its shots?
No, I was not able to find out because they hid the dog for 2 months after everything happened. I put in a claim for animal control to have this matter investigated, and he claimed that they no longer had the dog, and it wasn't his dog, and...
Whose dog was it?
It's my dog, man.
Where is the dog now?
My dog's at my house.
Well, don't you understand that if a dog bites somebody, unless they find out whether the dog is up to date on its shots, the person may have to go through a series of very painful shots? Don't you understand that?
And she never actually contacted me. Animal Service did come to my house.
And?
I have it show that he is in compliance.
Just a second.
Okay.
So when did Animal Control come to your house?
Can't remember the exact date, but I have an email stating everything that she needs
Well,
to
just
know.
a second. As of what date?
On the paper I had, because I had got an email saying that...
Don't tell me what the email is unless you have it. What date did Animal Control get the information with regard to your dog's shots? Give me the month.
March.
March! She notified him right away because she would have to notify Animal Control right away because she wants to know whether or not she's at risk.
That's all I have for you. I do have his paperwork.
That's not what I asked you. On what date did you contact Animal Control?
I contacted them the night of the dog fight.
On January 13th?
And yes, and they informed me that that was a call back the next morning at 7 a.m., which I did so, and then they mailed me out
So that was the 14th?
Yes, ma'am.
And you told them the name of the person?
Yes, gave him all the information.
How did you get his information?
Well, after everything, we got the dogs situated. I told him that I was going to make a complaint about him and his dog, and so I said I need his information. He handed me his driver's license. I took a picture of his driver's license, and he never asked for my information, and he's not telling the truth about me contacting him. I called him twice about it, and I let him know I was sending him information about the dog attack that I needed.
Called him on the phone?
Yes, ma'am, and spoke to him. And when I called
just a second. On what date did you speak to him?
I spoke to him about a week after everything happened when I got the paperwork from the Animal Control about his dog, because on his license, he had a different address than where the dog was.
Yeah, he doesn't live there.
Yeah, and he said the dog was not his, that it was his girlfriend's dog. And like I said, even the Animal Control confirmed that he said that it was not his dog, that it was his...
Do you have a paper to that effect?
No, ma'am, because the case is...
Then you can't tell me that. Okay, now, Mr. Stevenson.
Yes, ma'am.
Give me your version of what happened on January 13th.
Man, we had just come from shopping.
Right.
Chip was in the van,
Who were you
actually.
with?
My girlfriend here.
Who else was there?
Just us.
Who else was in the house? Don't look at me. Who else was in the house?
We were in our van.
Who else was in that house?
Okay, nobody was in the house at the time. We were both outside in the van.
Okay, go ahead.
All right. We were unloading the van. We had just come from shopping.
You told me that already.
Okay. I heard a commotion. I heard her dog bark. She said about 4 houses down. He seemed pretty excited. Chip heard the dog. He got excited. He likes to play with dogs. When I checked on Chip, I was calming him down. I was still unloading. He was fine. It looked like her dog was coming up the street some.
What does that mean? It looked like her dog was
Well,
coming?
because I seen her struggling with the leash at that time.
Okay, she's 4 houses away from you. Go ahead. So you see her struggling with the leash, and...
Okay, at that time I turned back. I started unloading the van. Chip was getting excited. Like I said, he likes to play with dogs.
I don't care what he likes.
Yes, ma'am.
Just tell me what happened.
At some point, he got out the back seat and out the back of the car, out the van.
Okay,
he went
so
down the street.
So he was no longer under your control.
Yes, ma'am.
And I want you to go over to there and point to where you were ultimately retrieving your dog.
Okay.
Walk over to there. Point. Where did you go to ultimately retrieve your dog?
I would say about here, ma'am.
So where she says it happened.
Okay.
So your dog got out of your car, which was in the driveway.
It's actually on the street. We were on the street.
No.
Okay, I'm sorry.
You don't park the car, listen, you don't park the car on the street if you're taking out groceries. If you're taking out groceries, you go right in front of the house.
Oh, yes, ma'am.
So point to where your car was.
Here, ma'am.
Yeah, not over there.
Okay, I'm sorry. My fault.
Get back over there.
Yes, sir.
So your dog is no longer under your control, and...
I went down. They were in a scuffle.
Down there, where she said it happened.
Yes, ma'am.
And?
We tried to restrain him. When I got there, she was actually beating my dog with a bat continuously. I never seen her hit her dog with the bat, just mine.
Well, your dog was the one that was out of control.
Okay.
Why did she hit our dog? Her dog wasn't out of her control. When the initial fight started, your dog got out of your control.
Yes, ma'am. At that point, we did finally get them broken up. She claimed that she had broken items, some stuff was going on. I didn't see her cell phone broken. She, like she said, she was actually on the cell phone.
She was on the cell phone.
Okay.
She said the cell phone was knocked to the ground and it broke.
We
That's
got
what she
them
says
apart.
in here. I'm not so concerned about the cell phone.
Okay.
I'm
We got
concerned
them-
about her dog bite on her hand.
I actually never saw a dog bite on her hand. I did see it on her leg, but I'm not sure my dog did it, ma'am.
I don't care whose dog did it. It could have been her dog that did it. It was your dog's fault. Your dog was out of your control.
Yes, ma'am.
Judge dog owner Daryl Stevenson is responsible for damages resulting from a dog attack.
And I still don't understand, Mr. Stevenson, because I have a feeling that she's telling me the absolute truth.
that you gave her a whole lot of who shot John when she called you, and you said, it's not my dog, it's my girlfriend's dog.
No.
I don't have the... Well, sir,
I claim the
Animal
dog.
Control was notified the day after the incident. She was bitten by a dog. She doesn't know whether she was bitten by her dog, your dog, because there's a whole kerfuffle. Doesn't look actually like a pit bull bite, because the medical facility documented what the bite looks like on her hand. So if I were bitten by a stray dog, which is out of somebody's control, I would like to know whether that dog was fully vaccinated so I didn't have to worry. Animal Control understands that. So Animal Control would not have waited until March to contact you. You might not have verified with them the paperwork until March, but somebody tried to contact you before. You just didn't respond, which is outrageous, which is, I believe, true. Because the baloney story you gave me in your answer was you saw her struggling with the dog and she lost the leash and the dog came charging towards your dog and that's what happened. That's not the story you just told me. That's the story you wrote in your answer. You're looking at me quizzically.
No, I'm just looking at you.
Judgment for the...
Yeah, that's case number 171 on the calendar in the matter of Maestas versus Benson.
Thank you.
Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat.
Ms. Maestas, you're suing the defendant for $5,000. You claim that he unlawfully evicted you and either got rid of or disposed of your personal property that was in a room that you were renting from him. Is that what you're suing him for?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Now, you have to explain to me under what circumstances, because I gather from reading both your papers and his, that you weren't paying him rent, that there was a church that was paying rent on your behalf to Mr. Benson. Is that correct?
Only for the first month, ma'am.
Which months?
June last year.
Is this a room in his house?
Yes.
How large is the house?
1-story, 3-bed.
Does he live there as well?
No.
He rents out the 3 bedrooms?
Yes.
So you live there with 2 other tenants?
More than that.
How many?
I think it was 5 or 6 altogether.
So people were doubling up in their rooms?
No, he would rent out the family room and not have any common space in the house.
But you took this room, I assume you were homeless at the time?
Yes.
That was in June of 2014. What church helped you?
We call it LDS, but it's a Mormon church.
And what was the rent?
It was $550 plus utilities, but after a couple of months, he started charging me utilities.
The church paid the first month?
Yes, ma'am, with a deposit.
What kind of deposit did they give Mr. Benson?
Security deposit, $200, Your Honor.
All right. Now, did the church pay in July of 2014, or did you pay?
After that, it was all me.
Okay, so after the initial stuff, you made the payments?
Yes.
Okay. Now, when did you move out?
Technically, I never moved out because I was out of state.
Okay, you were out of state where?
In Kentucky.
In what month and year?
April through the next month.
So between June of 2014 and, let's say, March of 2015, you house where Mr. Benson was renting rooms, you paid him the rent?
Yes.
So far, Mr. Benson, is that correct?
Yes.
Great. Did you pay him rent up through January 1st, 2015? Were you current in your rent in January
Yes, I
of
was.
2015? Did you pay him rent in February?
Yes.
Did you pay him rent in March?
Yes.
Okay. How much did you pay him in March?
It was $550 for rent and probably about $50-$60 in utilities, and then $13 for the Comcast.
Okay. Now, Mr. Benson,
Yes, Your Honor.
the plaintiff was current in her rent through March. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Good. Did she pay you rent in April?
She paid rent in April. Yes, Your Honor.
You paid rent in
Yes.
April in the same amount?
Yes, pretty much.
Mr. Benson, what happened in April?
In April, the beginning of the month, I said, you know, when the first of the month comes, I'm waiting usually for people to start to pay their rent. And I had spoke to one of the other tenants that's there. And I said, oh, okay, you have your rent. This guy's bringing in his money. Do you know where Tammy is? They said, oh, we don't.
Just a second.
We don't know.
You can't tell me anything that anybody else said to you.
Okay.
We're talking about April. When did you accept the plaintiff's rent for April?
On April 16th.
4/16, you accepted a check from her? Was
No.
it a check or cash?
I went to Walmart, and she sent a Walmart transmission.
Great. That was on April 16th, and you accepted it?
Yes.
And just to clarify...
Just a second. So now we're good till April. What happened in May?
In May, she did not pay the rent.
On what date?
It was not paid by May 6th.
By May 6th.
It was not paid.
So what did you do?
I put a 3-day pay or quit on her door. I then also sent her a text message.
I'd like to see the text message that you sent to her and the response.
It's right here.
Let me see the rest of these messages that continue here. This is May 6th, May 10th. Well, this is April, so she finally got you your rent in April, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so
Your
you
Honor.
sent her a 3-day notice to pay or quit. She did not pay in May. Am I correct?
Exactly.
Okay, and when did you come home from being away, wherever you were?
I had told him that I would be home in a few days, and then I would pay him, and by the time I got there, he had gotten rid of the stuff.
Well, there was a discussion here in texts back and forth that he said to you, some guys came for your stuff.
And which never happened.
Okay, and you say, I don't know what you're talking about, but that was the beginning of May. Listen to me. Mr. Benson.
Yes, Your
I
Honor.
read your answer. Your answer says that the people from the church came and picked up her stuff.
Yes, Your
That's
Honor.
what you say.
Yes, Your Honor.
You can't give her stuff to anybody.
I understand that, Your Honor.
Good. So now let's get to what stuff the people from the church came and picked up.
Okay,
Because she was living there for almost a year.
Yes.
The church only paid for 1 month. She paid the rest of the months. And although she was late and not on time all the time, you accepted the late payments.
Yes.
Okay, you got tired of chasing her around. Well, I could understand maybe your frustration, but you can't give her property away.
Exactly.
Right,
I
which you
understand
did, according to you. I'm not sure whether else. She says nobody from the church came to pick up her stuff, whether they did or not, I don't know.
I have a witness to state to that.
State to what?
That the church never picked it up.
Whether they did or whether they didn't. Whether they said they were from the church, but they weren't, it doesn't make any difference. He can't give you things away.
No, I know
he
that.
He can't give you things away. What was in your room that he gave away?
I made a general list, and this was basically everything.
May I see it, please, Bert?
And also, this was filed.
Do you have receipts for all these things?
They would have been in the room.
Well, if you bought the computer, you can go back to where you bought the computer. You say computers, $2,500.
Yes, it was a gaming computer. That's why it was so much.
Where did you buy it?
Best Buy.
When?
I want to say about a year ago.
And you can get... Did she move in with a bed?
I do not recall what she moved in with because I wasn't there, Your Honor.
I assume you have no receipts for any of this stuff.
I wish I did, but no.
I wish you did too. I wish you could prove the value of all of this stuff.
Your Honor.
What?
Can I say one thing?
Do you have,
What
do you have
happened?
photographs of any of these things?
I don't even think so.
I would just like to say one thing. So this is, she's a scam artist, basically. This is a scam.
No, listen to me.
Yes.
It's not a scam, sir. She was a tenant of yours for
A little over a year.
a little over a year. A rent-paying tenant. Now, I don't know who the scam artist is. Is your home zoned for multiple dwelling?
It's not a multiple dwelling.
It
It's
is a
single-
multiple dwelling.
It's a single family home.
Then you can't rent out to people in a single-family home unless you're zoned as a multiple dwelling. Do you understand what I just said to you?
Yes, Your Honor.
Great.
Former landlord Richard Benson unlawfully evicted her and then gave away her belongings. Richard is countersuing for unpaid rent and the cost to change locks.
Okay, you cannot dispose of her stuff. She was a paying tenant for a year. On the 10th of the month, she had paid the rent the previous did, according to you, on the 16th of the month.
Yes, Your Honor.
So on the 10th of the month, you even had $200 in security deposit that the church had given you. So technically, you weren't even out any money yet by the 10th of the month because you could always use the $200 to security deposit to cover that part of the rent. So I don't know why you thought you had the right to dispose of her things, but she clearly had things in the room that you had no right to dispose of.
And I understand
or steal.
that. And I didn't dispose of it. I didn't give anybody permission. The thing is this, and people understand this. I don't live at that house. And so I have a no visitor policy. I don't want people coming and going because of things that happen.
Well,
and so
evidently you did.
I don't want people coming and going. And so basically, I get a text or I get a call, hey, there's people here now, that are moving her stuff out.
Call the police.
So I'm thinking...
Call the police.
Well,
Call the police. You're the owner of the place. There are people that are coming into your house to steal property, and you don't do anything?
No, I thought it was her. I thought it was her. I thought she was there.
No, you didn't. Because then you lied to me in your answer. Because the answer said the church people came.
Exactly.
What I'm saying, Your Honor, is I thought she had told them, go get my stuff.
I don't care what you thought. You're texting her back and forth. That means on the 10th of the month, you were still engaged in texts with her. Say, did you authorize anybody to come and get stuff out of your room? That's what you do. You don't say, okay, let him take it.
No, I called her. I called her multiple times. She wouldn't answer the phone, and she sent me this text
Just a second. She had already notified you based on the texts that she got. She said, I can't use my phone. All I can use is text. So what are you calling her for? She told you that she couldn't use the phone. She could only use texts. I read
The next case.
All parties in the matter of Perry versus Hallmark. Step forward.
Dwight and Sarah Perry are suing Wilson Hallmark for vet bills resulting from a dog attack in a park.
Mr. and Mrs. Perry, you have a dog. You were walking your dog on August 6th.
Yes.
And it is your claim that the defendant's dog attacked yours. You want your vet bills paid.
Yes.
The defendant says that you stabbed his dog. He's counterclaiming for his vet bills. What time of the day were you walking the dog?
It was around 6 o'clock p.m.
Where?
At a local lake park area.
Your dog on leash or off the leash?
It was on a leash.
What kind of dog do you have?
American Eskimo.
How much does it weigh?
14 pounds.
And you were at the same lake, sir?
Yes, Your Honor.
What were you doing there?
I was playing with my dog in the river.
So your dog was off leash?
No, ma'am. Not at the time that we were playing. He was on leash. He was alerted to something up the hill and...
Don't tell me what he was... Don't go into his mind.
Yes, ma'am.
Was your dog on the leash when you were playing with him in the river?
Yes, ma'am.
Did he ever come off leash?
He did, Your Honor.
How that happened?
He slipped his head out of the collar, pulled away from me. I was debilitated at the time.
Just a second. I got the drill from what you wrote here.
Yes, ma'am.
So he was off leash?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. You weren't present?
I was in the bathroom when
you were in the bathroom. So you tell me what happened.
Yes, ma'am. I was waiting for Sarah outside the restroom with my dog on the leash. Then my dog started wrapping around my legs with the leash. Then all of a sudden, the dog came out of nowhere and clamped onto my dog. And I was yelling for help. And I was trying to...
What kind of dog do you have, Mr. Hallmark?
He was a pit bull mix, Your Honor.
How long have you had him?
I'd had him for a year at the time.
How old was he when you got him?
About a year.
So you got him as a rescue?
No, Your Honor. He was my ex-girlfriend's dog. We were living together at the time.
So when you broke up, you took the dog?
Yes, ma'am, I did. My girlfriend had him since he was born.
How come she didn't keep the dog?
She could not take care of the dog after we separated. She couldn't take care of the dog any longer.
Okay, so Mr. Hallmark's dog came up, clamped around your dog, and?
Then Sarah came out of the restroom, and I was trying to pry the jaws off the dog, and Sarah jumped on the back of the dog, trying to choke it to let it go. And then the dog bucked her off. And
How big is your dog, Mr. Hallmark? How much does it weigh?
About 80 pounds, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
And then I was calling for help, and this gentleman stopped by, and he saw what we were doing.
Don't tell me what he saw.
Okay.
Just tell me what happened.
Okay. He took out a pocket knife and stabbed the dog in the neck, and he stabbed him twice, as far as I know, and the dog finally let go. And I grabbed the dog by the harness, and we put him in the restroom and shut the door. So...
Is that where you found the dog, Mr. Hallmark, in the restroom?
No, Your Honor.
Where did you find the dog?
When I came up the hill, Your Honor, I heard some yelling, some screaming. I saw the man began to stab my dog in the neck with his pocket knife. I tried to get even closer to see what I could do to the situation. That was when the man looked at me, he raised his knife like this, and there was blood everywhere, and he says, "Stay away, get back."
Where did you get your dog from? Was the dog in the restroom?
Your Honor, I never got to the dog because the man with the knife was threatening me.
So somehow your dog got out of the restroom. How did your dog get out of the restroom?
I believe Animal Control or the Sheriff's Office would have done that.
So the dog remained in the restroom until Animal Control came?
Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor.
You don't know how the dog got out of the restroom, is what I'm asking you. You said no.
Well, I don't even think that's so much the point is the fact that I was
don't care what you
threatened.
think is the point. I don't actually care what you think is the point. I just asked you a question. I said, did you get the dog out of the restroom?
I was threatened,
The answer
Your Honor.
is either, I don't care.
I was threatened with a knife.
I don't care. The answer is either yes or no.
I did not get the dog out of the restroom.
So Animal Control did.
I do not know who got the dog out of the restroom.
Well, who took the dog to the vet?
No, I took the dog to the vet.
So if you took the dog to the vet, you must have gotten the dog at some point that day.
From Animal Control the next day.
Just a second. So Animal Control picked up the dog.
Apparently so, Your Honor.
Did you speak to the animal control people
I did, Your Honor.
so that they told you where you would have to go to get your animal?
They told me my dog was going to be killed due to its wounds.
If they told you your dog was going to be killed, what did you go the next day for?
They wouldn't release him that day, Your Honor.
How do you know?
Because I called just as soon as I could to determine what had happened.
Okay. Now, can I see your vet bills, please? Do you have pictures of the dog?
Yes, ma'am. They're on. And on.
Pictures of the injuries?
Yes, ma'am. She can slide if she likes.
How's the dog now?
He still has nightmares and he
I
limps
don't know
every now
whether
and
he
then.
has nightmares, but I would assume that if you're dead.
Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor.
Where's your dog?
I gave him to a rancher
When did you give it to a rancher?
shortly after the incident.
Good.
Your Honor.
What?
Well, I would like to let you know that my dog was deemed needed to be euthanized or whatever due to, was their dog ever deemed need to be euthanized or whatever? I mean,
What kind of
my dog,
ridiculousness is
my
that?
dog was stabbed in the neck.
Listen to me, sir. That's what happens when you don't
But
keep
that's
control.
why he got aggressive,
Listen,
Your Honor.
Listen to me. That's what happens when you don't keep control of your animal.
Your Honor, I had control of the animal.
Sir,
Until he...
Sir, I'm going to tell you something. I don't believe a word that comes out of your mouth. I don't believe that you are in a lake with a dog on a leash.
Well, we were only
Just a
in
second.
ankle-deep water, Your
I
Honor.
don't believe that you were in a lake playing with your dog on the leash. That's where we come to our first lie.
No, Your
Because
Honor.
that doesn't make sense to me.
We were only in
then-
ankle-deep water, Your Honor.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $4,957. Your counterclaims dismissed.
Next case.
All parties in the matter of Roberts versus Mortsfield. Step forward.
Jamie Roberts is suing her neighbor, Heather Mortsfield, for vet bills after Heather's Mastiff attacked her Chihuahua. Jamie says the incident resulted in the amputation of her dog's leg.
Miss Roberts, you and the defendant are next-door neighbors. Only a fence separates the two houses in the backyard.
Correct.
And you have a dog, this little dog right here, and Miss Mortsfeld has a larger dog. What kind?
Mastiff Rottweiler.
And you, in addition to this dog, you have another dog.
Correct.
And what kind of dog do you have?
A pit bull.
Okay. Now, it is your claim that the defendant's dog attacked your dog somehow, resulting in your dog losing a leg.
Correct.
And you want her to be responsible for the vet bills.
Yes.
She said it was not her dog that injured your dog. So you have to tell me the story, tell me when it happened, and convince me that you have sufficient proof that it was her animal and her responsibility.
Okay.
Okay? Go.
It was April 21st. I was in my massage room in my home. I work in my house doing massage, and my daughter came in the house screaming that she thought Leia, our other dog, the pit bull, attacked Lucy because she saw her arm missing.
She
and
saw her?
Her paw missing. Lucy's paw was
So
missing.
your daughter came in screaming that your other dog had attacked this dog.
Correct.
And?
And I took Lucy from her hands and looked at her paw, and I thought that her paw was still there. There was so much blood. But what I saw was her nails was actually her bones. So I wrapped her up in a towel, and I rushed her out to the car to take her to the vet. And while I was getting in the car, Heather came over and said, I'm so sorry, it was not your dog, it was mine. I heard Lexi screaming. She was crying and very upset. And I said, well, right now I can't talk. Yes.
Let me hear about the conversation. Look at me. Don't look down.
Okay.
Miss Morsefield, don't look down. Did you have that conversation with the plaintiff?
Yes, because I assumed it was my dog.
You said to her, it was not Leia. That's what you said to her. Not a very difficult case for me, Miss Morsefield, because people would not ordinarily come forward and even suggest that it was their dog if you know that she has another large dog certainly capable of doing that kind of injury. Why would you run over and say, I'm so sorry, it wasn't Leia?
Because my dog spit the paw out at my feet. So I assumed it was my dog. I don't know that.
Okay, well, then that's what prompted you to say it to her, because your dog came over to you and spit the paw out.
Yes.
Well, that would give me a clue, right?
Yes.
Great. How much were the vet bills?
It was $1,480, I believe, was the total. I have them right here.
The next question, I just have a question. If your dog is in the backyard and her dog is in her backyard, how did it happen?
Her dog dug a hole under the fence. I have pictures of that as well.
I'd like to see the
I also have a police report stating that the hole was dug from her side.
I'd like to take a look at that too. Who put up this fence?
It was there when we moved in.
But it's your property that's fenced.
We both have the same fence, so we both have.
We put the fence in when we moved in, Your Honor.
Okay.
Your Honor, I have a picture of my dog with a basketball next to it showing how huge her head is.
I'm
showing that. I mean,
well, that's what I'm trying to figure out, actually.
Here's a picture of her with, I mean, she has a basketball next to her head.
I'm trying to figure out how the dog got his head underneath.
It was a matter of not even 2 minutes, all this happening, so I don't know.
I understand, but I'm trying to figure out how, if a dog puts their head underneath a fence, they can even go up and open a mouth. I mean, it's possible that your dog dug the hole, but that the little dog went through the hole.
Yes, Your Honor.
Is that possible?
Yeah, she must have been right next to the fence, absolutely.
Right. And it's more likely that she went through the hole than that big head went through the hole and got to her somehow.
That hole wasn't big enough for her to fit through it yet. It could have been quickly, but...
Just a second. If the hole wasn't big enough for her to fit through it, how could his head fit through it?
I don't know. All I know is her dog had my paw in its mouth.
I don't know either. Who saw this? Come and stand up, please. Tell me your first name.
Alexis.
All right, Alexis. You ran inside and you told your mother that your other dog had bitten off the paw or attacked the little dog. Is that right?
Yes.
I want you to tell me exactly what you saw.
I didn't see the incident happen. I let the two dogs out to go to the bathroom, and I was sitting at the table right by the door doing my homework, and I heard her screaming, so I ran out there and I saw massive amounts of blood. And she was laying on her back, not near the fence though. That's why I don't think she could have gotten under it, because she was still over on our side. And so I picked her up and I brought her in the house, and I told my mother, look what Leia did, basically, because Leia was standing right there. So
did Leia have any blood on her?
No, ma'am.
Did not?
Did not.
Did your dog?
No, she did not.
The other dog, Leia, never went off your property.
No, she didn't.
Is that correct? She remained inside of your property.
Yes, she did.
And there had to be, your dog got the paw somehow.
Yes.
Judge, $1,480. Thank you.
And you may be seated, ma'am. Have a seat.
Miss Quinn, Mr. Boyer used to be your boyfriend, and it is your claim that he has some stuff that belongs to you.
Yes.
When did you and Mr. Boyer live together? From when to when?
2010 to 2014.
So it was a long-term relationship?
Yes.
And were you working at the time?
Yes.
Were you working at the time?
Yes.
Did you lease an apartment together?
We rented a house.
Yes. Together?
Yes.
Both of you on the lease?
Yes.
When did you lease the house?
Well, we lived in one in Corona for a year, and then we moved out of there and moved to one in Norco, and we lived there for a year.
But you were together for 4 years?
Right. We lived at somebody else's house in the beginning, a friend of ours. We all lived together in one house, and then we moved out of there once he sold his house.
And you rented another house for a year. And when you rented the other house for a year, did you buy furnishings?
Yes.
Who bought them?
I did. I bought a refrigerator.
You said, I did. I bought the refrigerator. Is the only thing you had in the house a refrigerator?
No. The first house that we lived in, I bought a refrigerator. I bought a table and chairs. And then we had purchased a bed together and a television together.
Is that all the furniture that was in the house?
In that first house, yes. The second house, I bought a dryer.
Okay. And what did Mr. Boyer buy?
He bought a warranty for the refrigerator. He purchased...
Just a second.
Okay.
How much was that?
$300.
And how much was the refrigerator?
$1,500.
What else did Mr. Boyer pay for?
We bought a bed together. It was about $1,000. I paid $600. He paid $400.
What else?
We bought a TV together. The total bill was...
What about a couch? Is there a couch in the house?
We already had that.
From where?
It was her couch, and it was also a TV. And when she moved out once before, she was going to take that. I just purchased it from her for $500.
Okay. Now, when you lived together, how did you divide the bills?
50-50.
Did you have a joint bank account?
No.
So how did that work?
We split the rent down the middle, the utilities, anything related to the house.
Well, who would write who a check to cover those things?
I think we did it half and half. I would write a check and he would write, and we each just separately.
Separately?
Right. I would write a check for my half, he would write a check for his half.
Put it in an envelope and drop it off at the landlord's house.
Okay, what about utilities? Same thing? You'd each write a check for half?
Yeah.
Actually, she would cover some of the utilities, and I would cover other utilities. So
that's the way...
Right.
So you wrote one check for, say, power and one check for water. And what about when you went out? Now, you were a couple living together for 4 years. What happened when you went out for dinner? How did that work? Just curious.
Most of the time, I'd purchase the meals.
We didn't go out.
We didn't go out.
We went out quite often to eat.
No, we didn't.
So just a second.
Quite often.
Ms. I'm just trying to understand before I probably say goodbye to you both. In the 4 years that you were together, you never went out for dinner.
Rarely.
That's not my question. Okay. I said, when you went out for dinner, who paid?
Sometimes it was him, sometimes it was me.
Mainly.
I made more money than he did, so most of the time I believe it was me.
Mainly me.
Okay. Now I'd like you to tell me, so you had an argument and you split up what month and year?
January of 2014. Our year lease was up. I told him I was moving out. I wanted to be off the lease. I moved down the street to my daughter's house.
So that's January of 2014?
Yes.
So you moved out then? Now we're
proposed.
coming up on almost the second anniversary of that.
Yeah. He proposed on Valentine's Day after I moved out.
Okay, so that's February.
Yes.
He proposed, and?
Yes. I would marry him if things changed, but I wasn't moving back until things changed.
Okay, and?
So between February and November, we were trying to work things out. And in November, I told him it wasn't going to change, so I gave him his rings back.
So November of 2014?
Yes.
Okay. So between January of 2014 and November of 2014, whatever items that you're claiming are yours remained in his house?
Correct.
For that year?
For
11 months?
From February to November, yes.
No, from January to November?
Yes.
They remained in his house?
Yeah.
And you were living with your daughter, or were you living back with him?
No, I was living with my daughter. Down the
so
street.
You were living with your daughter, and you made no claim for any of this property for that year?
No, I did.
You asked him for it back?
Yes, I did.
While you were engaged, you say, I want this back?
Well, I told him. I said that, just remember, these are my things.
While you were wearing the ring?
Well, we weren't living together.
I don't care whether you were living together or not. You mean you were wearing the ring, you told him you wanted the things back, he didn't give them to you during that year, and you remained engaged? Yes. I don't believe that. Okay. Now, what happened in November?
So I gave him the ring back. And again, told him that I needed my things. I wanted my things. He said, no, I'm using them, so I'm not going to give them to you. I started sending him emails requesting my refrigerator. I listed all the things in my emails. I have them here, printed out. And I said, these are the things that are mine, and I want them. I told him how much I paid for each of them. And I said, I want them back, or you need to pay me for them. I said, if you want to keep them all, just pay me $1,500, and we'll call it even, and you can keep all the stuff.
Okay. What things did you want back?
I wanted the bed, the fridge, the dryer,
a second.
the TV.
The bed you bought together?
Yes.
Mattress and box springs.
Shh. The bed you bought together? Okay. What else?
So the bed, the fridge, the dryer, and the TV.
Just a minute. The TV. I didn't get that you bought the TV yourself. I got that you bought it together.
Your Honor, if I may.
Just a second. That's what I got.
Well, okay, so my email to him was that I'm asking for $600 for the bed, which is my portion of the bed.
It's not worth that anymore. It's not worth that anymore.
Well, that's what I was asking.
No, maybe. I mean, let me ask you this question. If I said to you, he wants to give you $25 for the bed, you would say, I don't want the $25 for the bed. It's worth $600. That's what I paid for it. That was my half, right?
Yes.
Well, what about you give him the money for half the bed, and then you can have the bed? Because you would say to me, well, that's not fair. The bed is years old. It's not worth that. If somebody went to sell it, maybe you'd get $50 for it at a garage sale.
He wasn't going to give up the bed because he didn't have one.
Yes, I would have.
That's for the operation of his mind, madam.
Especially for that kind of money.
Just a second. That's ridiculous. Now, the refrigerator. Refrigerator you said you spent $1,500 for. In what year?
2012. And to buy the same refrigerator today, it's around the same price.
2011.
It doesn't matter. You bought it 2011 or 2012?
2012. It's right here.
Great. So now it's 3 years old. And how much do you think if you put that refrigerator on Craigslist for, or whatever they sell things on the internet, how much do you think somebody would give you for it? $100?
No, it's a really nice refrigerator.
How much would somebody give you? How much
at least
would somebody
$500.
give you?
At least $500.
You think so?
Yes, but I had to replace my refrigerator.
It doesn't matter. You played house together. You lived together like a couple. We don't have courts that are going to do that. It just doesn't happen. However, now, she left, and there were certain things that you are enjoying, even though they have diminished value to you. And they are of diminished value. I mean, if you purchase a car together for $10,000 and you separate after 5 years, and you said, well, I want my $5,000 from him because we paid $10,000 for the car. I put in half, he put in half. I would say to you, the car's not worth $10,000. It would be worth $3,000 now, which means that would be a reasonable thing to do. You sell it for $3,000. When you sell it, you each get half. Or you sell it for $2,000, each get half. He's not going to pay you what you paid for it in 2012. You used it, you slept on it, you watched the TV, you put food in the refrigerator. So this is what you do. You want to keep the bed?
No.
No?
Well, he lives with his girlfriend now.
Shh. I don't care. What difference does it make? He doesn't want to keep the bed. So she can have it.
I already told her she could have it.
Great.
I don't want
pick
it.
it up.
I don't know what he's done to it.
Listen to me.
Exactly what I'm saying.
Listen to me, Miss Quinn. You say it's your bed, half of it. He doesn't
Mattress
want
and
any.
box
He
spring.
doesn't want the bed anymore. So if you want it, you can have it, and you have 5 days to pick it up. What about the refrigerator?
Yeah, that's mine, Your Honor.
Well,
refrigerator, dryer.
Just a second. Who paid for the refrigerator?
Well, we both put money in on it, Your Honor.
Well, you did. You paid for the warranty, the $300. Do you want to keep the refrigerator?
Yes.
$100. That's what you're going to give her for the refrigerator, plus her bed. What about the TV? When was the TV purchased?
It was purchased the same day as the refrigerator in 2012. I have a bank statement showing how much I paid for the TV.
Well, you even told me that you purchased that together.
Yes.
You purchased that. Just a second. You purchased that together.
Yes.
And how much did you pay for it together?
$1,086.17. I have the receipt right here.
Okay. And the TV is now 3 years old. And does it work?
That's what I was trying to tell you, Your Honor. The TV was actually broke. I even told her that. When she broke into the house, it was sitting right in the corner. She could have took it with her. I threw it away.
Fine. So he doesn't have the TV anymore. What else?
My dryer.
Dryer. Did she pay for the dryer?
Yeah, we bought a washer and dryer set together.
No, we did not.
For $400.
No.
The washer broke, so that actually went to the curb too for trash. And I did purchase a new one for $500.
Fine. Is the dryer still functioning?
It is functioning, yes.
Do you want it?
I do.
Great. How much did she pay for it?
$200.
$400.
How much did you pay for
She paid $400 for the washer and dryer.
$400?
Yes.
$400. Show me.
I bought it on Craigslist. He just said I bought it for $400. But I bought it on Craigslist.
No,
it's a
he
special
said
dryer.
you bought a washer and dryer for $400, Miss Quinn. Is that correct?
Yes, but it's a special dryer. So really, I paid for the dryer.
It's very special. You can have $25 for it. You can have $100 for the refrigerator and $25 for the old dryer that you bought used from Craigslist. Plus, if you want the bed, you have to pick it up in 5 days. Thank you very much.
Seated. Ladies, have a seat, please.
Ms. Schrader, this is your nephew. Is he your sister's son?
He's my nephew. I don't like to call him my nephew. He's a brat. Disowned him, but yes, he's my nephew.
I said, is he your sister's son?
Yes.
And you rented a house to him in 2013. He lived there for 2 years, and it is your claim that he damaged the house, and you want him to be responsible for $5,000 worth of damage. Mr. Baumberger said he lived there for 2 years. The house did, in fact, need a good cleaning when he left, but he denies trashing the house. He has a counterclaim. He said that in a fit of anger, you started wailing on his car and caused dents. Is that correct? Yes. Based upon your conduct this morning, I see that that's a possibility. So, you moved in when, Mr. Baumberger?
I moved in November 2013.
What was your monthly rent?
$1,000.
Did you have a lease with your aunt?
I did not.
How many people lived in the house?
It ranged from 3 to 4 people living there at certain times.
In addition to you?
Yes.
Did you have permission to have those other people live
Yes,
there?
I did.
Permission from your aunt?
Yes.
Okay, and they contributed to the rent?
They did.
Where was your aunt living?
Originally in Vegas.
And where is the house located?
Harrisburg, Pennsylvania.
Were you originally from Pennsylvania?
Yes.
And you relocated to Las Vegas?
Yes, I did.
In 2015, you decided to come back to Pennsylvania?
I came back in 2014.
Where were you living?
I was living with my mother-in-law who was terminally ill to care for her.
So you came back in 2014, and when did you want to re-enter the house that you had been renting to your nephew?
In August of 2015.
When did you notify him that you wanted him to be out of the house?
He was given a notice to quit, him as well as the other people that were living in the house, July 10th.
Do you have a copy of that?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to take a look at it. Mr. Bromberger, when did you tell your aunt that these people were living there?
At the very beginning of living there. She was aware of it immediately as we moved in.
I want you to tell me how she was aware of it. Did you tell her? Did you send her a text? Did you send her an email?
There was text messages sent to her or my uncle because when my uncle got out of jail, he acted more as in charge of the property than she did.
When was he out of jail?
The summer of 2014.
Was he also taking care of his mother?
Yes.
So that you were together in Pennsylvania?
Yes.
In what month were you no longer together?
April of 2015.
Did he remain in his mother's house?
No, he's in jail.
Starting in April?
Yes, ma'am.
You communicated with the uncle?
For most of the time when he originally got out of jail in late 2013.
And the form of communication was?
Text, phone calls. He would just show up in the house a a lot of times.
Did he come over at all in 2014?
Yes.
Did your aunt ever come over in 2014?
Towards the end of my living there, she came over more often, but not much during.
When you say towards the end of your living there, could you give me an idea of what month?
July was the main month that she was present.
Okay. Tell me about the discussions you had with her in July.
I called her on the phone and let her know that I would be moving out August 1st to a new apartment.
You were moving out because she wanted to move back in?
Yeah, she wanted to move back
When
in.
did she tell you that she wanted to move back in?
Early July, she let me know that it was a possibility that she might want to move back in. It wasn't a definite.
Okay, but then you were served with an eviction notice. What precipitated that?
I had called her on July 6th and let her know that I was going to leave on the 1st of August. I found a place. There was no worries. She could move back in. 4 days later, I was not there. I was at work. She came over to the house and got upset with someone living in the house. She said that he didn't clean up his room, so she decided that she was going to kick us all out that day.
And what day was that?
I believe July 10th.
Tell me what happened on July 10th.
It was a little bit before July 10th when I came to the house to just basically check on the house, because he had actually asked me to come because one of his sublettees were saying that they weren't going to move when he left. And I didn't even know who they were. So when I went to the house and I saw these random people in the house that were not given permission by me to be in the house.
Well, let's say they were given permission by your husband to be in the house. Keep going.
Right. So I saw the condition of the house, and it was absolutely horrid. I went through the house and saw trash everywhere, beer bottles everywhere, dishes, gunk, disgusting living conditions at that time. And I was like, oh no, you need to leave now.
Well, you can't do that.
Right.
Right.
So that's why I went back and did the notice to quit.
You can't do that. First of all, just for my own information, in whose name is this house?
Myself and my husband.
So you can't do this. He says the communications that he had with regard to people living there were, for the most part, with your husband before he went to jail. And this notice to quit says that you are illegally subletting to unknown individuals without permission. Well, that's a lie.
No.
No, that's a lie. He says he had permission from one of the owners.
And he also said that people were in and out of there, various people, that he did not have permission for those people to be in the
Listen
home.
to me. You don't know that.
I do know.
No, you don't. He says he was in communication with husband. Did he pay rent in July?
Yes.
Then you have no right to kick him out at all.
Okay, so the notice to quit?
The notice to quit was a lie. Okay. Now, he paid his rent in July, and I assume he was current in his rent because you have no claim for rent the entire 2 years that he lived there.
Yes.
So that's pretty responsible.
Yes.
And other than the fact that either you had a falling out with mother-in-law, husband went to jail, for whatever reason, you wanted back into the house. You didn't give him much notice. You told him in July, according to you, July 6th, that you wanted him out, and he said, I'll look for a place to live. He could have said to you, you can't throw me out. You got to give me at least 30 days notice, 60 days notice. I've been living here 2 years. He said, you want me out? I'll find another place to live.
He actually called me and told me he found a place to live without me asking him to leave on July 6th.
You mean it was just serendipitous?
Yes.
It was just serendipitous that you wanted to move back in.
He knew I wanted to move back in
Of course he knew that you wanted to move back in.
Yes.
You told him you wanted to move back in.
Yes. And he
other than the fact that you wanted to move back in, he wouldn't have left the house. He was living there. He was perfectly comfortable. And if he had 4 roommates, they were all probably paying $250 a month. It was costing him practically nothing to live there. Why would he want to move? You wanted to move back in. What you didn't do is you didn't treat him like a tenant. You treated him like a nephew. And you said, your aunt wants to move back in? Out. No notice.
So I went to the district court, and they would not let me file an eviction notice.
Because you had no grounds to file an eviction notice.
No, because there was no lease. So they told me to go to the police. He was a trespasser. That's what the district court told me to do.
I want to tell you that I don't believe a word that you are telling me or a word that you told the police. I guarantee you did not say to them, my nephew has been living on a month-to-month tenancy for 2.5 years,
yes, I did.
Paying his rent on time, and they said, well, you want him out, go to the police. Don't believe you, not for a second. Now I want to see photographs of what you claim is the damage to the house.
Okay.
Would you show this to Mr. Bomberger, please? That's trash.
Yes, one of the roommate that lived upstairs was very dirty. I gave him his privacy, and I didn't go into his room enough. I should have, because he did trash that room.
Well, she doesn't have to clean up that mess.
No, of course not.
Okay, so now I would like to see the bills for cleaning up the trash.
I have an entire work estimate. that
All
has
I want to
details.
do is see the bills for cleaning up the trash. Is that what's that?
That's detailed on there, yes. It's broken down.
I was not given a chance to clean at the house. I don't know if that's admissible here.
I read your answer. It said you were going to move out on August 1st. You hadn't paid August's rent. So August 1st, you should have been out. Should have been out July 31st. So you were given plenty of time. If you knew you were moving out on August 1st, you had to get these people out.
Yes, yes.
That's your responsibility.
Yes, prior to that day, actually on July 11th, because she wanted me out and had an eviction notice, she came into the home while I was out of state and started packing up my things and throwing things out into the garbage.
On what date?
July 11th. My mom was a witness to that.
Did you go back into the house on July 11th?
Yes, I did.
For what purpose?
No, July 10th.
What were you doing in the house?
He asked me to come. He called me and asked me to come.
My question to you is, did you start to pack up any of his stuff?
No, I did not.
Did you start to move in any of your stuff?
No, I did not.
When did you move in your stuff?
I moved my stuff in August 1st.
Okay. Trash out room in basement. Was this person living in the basement?
There was still trash left in the basement, and it's still
well, that's
there now.
$104. But that's a lot of garbage that was there in the photograph.
The reason why that's not on that estimate is because, and that's why I have my daughter here with me, is because it was cleaned out by my daughter and my son before the estimate was made. So it's already been cleaned out. So I don't have it on the estimate because it was cleaned out by us. We cleaned it. We spent 10 hours cleaning that room alone. One 14 by 10 room.
Okay. Now I'd like to see pictures of the house before you moved in.
I do not have them at this time.
Did you cause any damage to the house?
I do not believe I did.
Okay. It was pretty messy.
I do agree.
And pretty dirty.
I agree. And I would, being the person that I am, I would have liked to clean. Because she was my aunt, I wanted to come help clean. She locked me out and changed the locks and told me not to come back.
Not true.
Judge Judy, her nephew, Jacob Romberger, owes for rent and damages to a house she rented to him. Jacob is countersuing for damages to his car and his belongings.
What I want you to tell me is what happened with your car.
The day of August 1st, I had communicated with her the prior week and said, unfortunately, I can't move out till August 1st. I know that I should be out by the 31st, but I can't because I'm going to be driving for work in Virginia. I don't get back until the morning of Saturday, August 1st. So I came back to the house to start moving stuff. I had my work partner there with me to help me move. We were about ready to go on our last trip, and she said, I need you to help clean this room. And I said, of course, you know that I feel that is partially my responsibility. I'm going to come back and help you clean the room. She freaked out at that moment when I said, I'll come back. She said, no, you're not going to come back. And I'm like, yes, I am. Let me just get my partner home. So at that point, I went out to finish packing into his truck. She came out with a kitchen table that I had from her mom, my grandma. She came out with that and tried to stuff it into my 350Z, which is a sports car, a convertible. It's not going to fit. She started trying to stuff this chair into my car, hitting the weather stripping clip on my door, knocking that off, and there was some minor scratches that I got an estimate on.
What did you say to her?
I was at the truck at the moment. I ran and jumped in front of her, between her and my car at the moment to stop her from hitting that, and I said, you got to go.
Can I see the damage to the car?
Yes, you can.
I want to see a photograph of it.
I have it on my phone. Is that okay?
Take a look at it.
Here's the main one. There's one to the right. It's not major. It's minor, but still, it was damages to my car.
You want to tell me what happened with the car?
What he said is untrue.
Just tell me what happened with the car.
What happened was we were removing the trash from that room, and as we were coming out to remove the trash from the room, anything that he didn't want to take with him, he was throwing on the grass and leaving it alongside my house. Trash, chairs, tables, piled probably 5 feet high of trash alongside my house. And I said, I'm sorry, you're forgetting your trash. He said, I'm not taking that. I'm like, you need to take this with you. And he said, I'm not taking it. And I picked up the chair, and he came running over from his truck and grabbed me.
What did you pick up the chair for?
I picked up the chair to put into the truck so he could take it because he forgot to take his stuff.
Into the truck or his car?
No, the truck.
And?
And he ran and grabbed me and threw me to the ground.
And?
And my daughter was there to witness that.
And?
And I just went inside, and my sister was inside, his mother was inside, and I said, your son just grabbed me. I said, I'm contemplating calling the police, and then I said, you know what, I'm not going to do that. I said, I just want this all over with. I'm happy to be back in my home, finally, back in my home. I said, I know he's not coming back to help clean this up. I know he's not. I know he's lying. I know he's not going to clean this up. And my daughter and my son are carrying out trash, 1,000 beer bottles, not full of beer, full of urine, a mattress dripping wet with urine, probably 500 trash bags full of trash, urine. Razor blades were found in that room, about 100 of them. 2 gas masks were in that room. My son, who lives in Michigan, was there to help, and my daughter, they had to wear masks
Let me ask you
to
a question.
clean it. It was
Right.
disgusting.
Listen, you already know that I am suspect with regard to what you tell me.
That's your decision.
Well, that's my decision.
Yeah.
Burger of causing damage to a house she rented to him.
That's my decision because you don't have to be a genius to figure out the fact that for 2 years, while it was comfortable for you and your husband, he rented the house, he paid his rent on time when it was no longer convenient for you, other than being a reasonable person, not only a reasonable landlord, but a reasonable relative, and saying, listen, I'm going to give you time to get out.
I did. I told him for months.
I asked you a question. I said, when did you tell him that you wanted him to leave?
In July, after he told me he was going to leave.
No, just a second. In July. Do you think that that's reasonable notice? Do you think that
He
that's
actually called me and told me he was leaving. It wasn't
You should
my
have cleaned
notice.
up the house. She's not totally getting a new house because you were there with a bunch of slobs. But the fact that she and her children cleaned up after you doesn't mean that you get a free ride.
I understand.
$250 for the car damage, because I absolutely believe that she got disgusted with you and caused the scratch on your car. She's getting $750 to clean up, which means her net amount is $500 that I'm awarding her.
Can I say
Listen to
something
me,
as well?
that I'm awarding her because she could have hired somebody to come in for a day.
I understand this is important. I did give her a $500 security deposit. I think that should be applied to that. She
Just a
kept it.
second. Show me that you gave her $500 security deposit.
No.
Either she or her husband, since the house is in both names. This is May 4th, 2015.
They didn't collect it in the beginning. When we first moved in, there was no security deposit necessary. It was just the upfront money. When my uncle got out of jail, he talked her into saying that we definitely need a security deposit just in case. So they actually came to me and said, we need this money. And I said, I'm not giving you a security deposit because you didn't ask for one to begin with. They're like, if you don't give us a security deposit, we're going to take all the appliances out of the house. So that's why I felt forced to
Who's
give.
they?
My aunt and uncle.
Or said that.
My uncle was the one who said that
I thought he went to jail in April.
He did, but he had been badgering me for months to give him a
Just a
security
second.
deposit.
He went to jail in April. This $500 withdrawal is in May.
Yes, she collected the $500.
No, no way.
She told my mom that she
Yeah.
collected the $500 security
I
deposit.
never told her that.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Closed captioning sponsored by.
And this is your sister?
This is my sister, yes.
Okay. Were you present when there was a discussion with your sister about this $500?
My sister called me on July 11th at 1 o'clock in the morning when she was at the house throwing stuff away. She's lying about that. And she said, how much did he say he gave in security deposit? Because his girlfriend is saying a different amount. And I want to know what you think is true. And I said, really? You're calling me at 1 o'clock in the morning? So you're there at the house right now at 1 o'clock in the morning badgering.
Just a second. Well, if she doesn't know how much was in the security deposit,
right?
So she didn't know,
right?
Okay, $750 to clean out the trash, $250 on your counterclaim, which is a net amount to the plaintiff for $500. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $500. That's your cost to clean out the trash. He's not repainting and recarpeting your whole house. That's all. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out. All parties in the matter of Martin versus Evans. Step forward.
Jocelyn Martin is suing fellow restaurant owner Donald Evans for money owed for a barbecue grill.
I gather both of you are in the restaurant business. Is that correct?
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
What kind of restaurant, Mr. Martin, are you in?
I have a jerk chicken Caribbean restaurant.
And you, sir?
Barbecue restaurant. Sell
Great.
ribs.
Mr. Evans, you purchased a barbecue grill from Mr. Martin. When did you purchase it, sir? Give me the month and the year.
April of 2014.
Okay, so that's a long time ago.
Yes.
And how much was the agreed upon purchase price?
It was $2,800.
Okay. And you purchased the barbecue. Did you take possession of it in April?
Yes.
How much money did you give Mr. Martin?
I think it was $1,500 down.
Is that correct, Mr. Martin?
Yes, Your Honor.
So he gave you $1,500.
Yes, Your Honor.
Did he ever pay you the balance?
No, Your Honor.
Did you ever pay him the balance?
He told me that after I put the barbecue pit together and all, if everything was okay, because he was sitting in the back of his store.
Listen to me carefully. Did you understand every question that I asked you so far?
Could you repeat it again, please?
No. You answered the questions.
Okay.
You answered the questions
Yes.
because you understood the questions.
Yes.
When did you buy the barbecue? How much did you pay for the barbecue? How much did you give him? You see how easy that is?
Yes.
Clear.
Okay.
Did you give him the balance?
No.
Which was that's the answer. No. And the reason would be, now I want you to tell me, linear, just like I talked to you.
Yes.
Great. Do you see how well we're going to get along, Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Despite the fact that you actually thought you were going to the beach today.
Yes.
Do you understand?
Yes.
So now I want you to tell me it's a year later and you haven't paid him the balance. Why?
It was no good.
Did you return it to him? The answer is either yes or no. Did you return it to him?
No.
Then you owe him the balance.
Okay.
Great. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,300. Thanks very much. That's all.
The next case.
All parties in the matter of Morrow versus Wells. Step forward.
Misty Morrow is suing Tammy Wells for the return of a motorcycle for the money she put down on it.
Miss Morrow, you purchased a motorcycle from the defendant.
Yes.
Did you know her before you purchased the motorcycle?
No.
Where did you see the motorcycle advertised?
We had met in a bathroom.
Where?
It was in Taylorville, Illinois.
I know, but where? In a store, in a mall?
It was in a bathroom at a restaurant.
And how did the subject of motorcycle come up?
We were going to this thing that they do every year for motorcycles, me and my mom and my dad. And I met Tammy in the bathroom, and she said, hey, you know anybody that's looking for a motorcycle? And my mom said, my daughter is. And that's when we drew up the conversation about looking for a motorcycle.
Okay.
Judge Judy, Misty Morrow says Tammy Wells illegally repossessed a motorcycle she was selling her. Tammy claims Misty broke their agreement, and she is countersuing for her damages.
And when was that?
That was the end of May.
Of this year?
Yes.
Did you ultimately purchase the motorcycle?
I did.
And what was the purchase price?
It was $27.50.
Did you have a contract with her?
Yes, I did.
I'd like to take a look at the contract. A comprehensive notarized contract for the motorcycle.
Yes.
Was executed May 26th, 2015. Now, you repossessed the motorcycle, Miss Wells.
Yes, that's correct.
On what date?
July 29th.
She was supposed to make her first payment on June 25th.
That's correct.
Did she make that payment?
No, ma'am.
Your Honor, I have text messages of Miss Wells agreeing that because I had started a new job that I could make 2 payments the end of July. And
I'd like to see that.
Yes. And
just a second. Did you agree to give her extra time to pay for the motorcycle?
Yes, ma'am. I gave her extra time to pay the agreed amount of $700 on July 30th.
So what happened on the 29th?
On the 29th. Can we start on the 28th?
Okay. Just a second. So you agreed to give her until July 30th.
Right.
To make 2 payments, in total $700.
Well, actually 2 payments only totals $500, but she offered $700, and I said, well, okay, if you'd like to do that.
So that you agreed to?
Yes, ma'am.
Now what happened on the 29th?
The 28th of Tuesday the 28th, we put a new battery in the motorcycle. She and Chris, her boyfriend at that time, came over to ride the bike.
Because the bike was kept at your house?
Yes, it was stored at my house. She asked me, or she actually told me, I'm going to take the bike tonight so I can ride it to work tomorrow. She works in Springfield. That's 42 miles away. And I said, oh, okay. Is it going to rain? And she says, I have a frog suit. And I said, okay. So they left. We went inside. The next morning, I sent her a text message. How did it go? Did you have a nice ride? Everything okay? She says, yes, a great morning. I had a wonderful ride. And I said, okay. So later in the afternoon, around 2 o'clock, I drove past a small shopping mall where I saw the bike sitting. Not in Springfield, Illinois, 42 miles away, only about 3 miles from my house. So I thought, hey, Misty, where are you? Called her and everything. I'm at work. Oh, well, I just stumbled onto the bike. And she said, oh, Chris came and got it from Springfield, and he's using it right now. And I said, well, I'm looking for Chris then. So I bump into Chris. I find him at the mall, and I said, hey, Chris, Misty says that you came and got the bike in Springfield today. And he said, well, that's not true. And I go, what do you mean it's not true? He says, I've had the bike the whole time, since last night. And I said, Misty, he says he has had the bike the whole time. And she said, what? And I said, he says he's had the bike the whole time. He didn't come to Springfield. And she said, he's lying. And I said, well, now she's saying you're lying. He goes, no, it's not true. I've had it the whole time. So I checked the mileage on the bike, and it had only gone 13 miles, not 84 miles.
Okay. At that point, you didn't give her the bike back.
No, the point, what happened at that point is I said, we need to talk, because the contract clearly states that communication is essential.
Now, the contract is a very specific contract, and it doesn't even say that nobody else can ride the bike.
That's true, except for the lien holder part of the insurance. Anyway,
the contract does not preclude anyone else from riding her bike because the title was transferred to her. So it's just as if she bought a car and took out a bank loan.
I didn't.
She put down a deposit and she was paying you, and you agreed to give her until the 30th of July to make a double payment. So I'm still trying to figure out on what legal grounds you refused to let her have the bike.
Well, she told me to take the bike. I have proof.
Okay, she said to take the bike.
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to see it.
The gray part. She told me twice to take it.
Well, she's right. She said there are too many control issues, and to be honest, I'm afraid of you, so please take the key and the bike, and that be what it is. That's what you told her to do.
That is correct.
So,
because I was afraid and I was tired of the issues. Tell her where I was going. I was afraid that.
But you told her to take the bike.
I did tell her. I said, just go ahead and take the
why
bike.
Are we here?
And then after
so why
we
are
discussed,
we here?
Because after we had discussed, and I have text messages, we discussed a settlement because there was nothing to be settled. The police told me that I had to
Don't tell me what the police told you.
Okay.
Right now, you've had the bike and the use of the bike for 2 months.
No, I did not have the bike.
You've had the use of the bike for 2 months, from May 26th to July 29th. And you told her to take back the bike. Now, you say that there's something that happened after that?
Yes.
Well, then show me.
On July, I believe this was July 30th, we had talked on the phone, and...
You mean after you told her to take the bike?
Yes, correct.
So you talked on the phone?
We talked on the phone, and I said we can come up with 3 agreements that would settle, because she had said I have control issues, and I think we're better as friends than we are as business partners. So I came up with 3 options, and the 3 options were: 1, get possession of the bike and continue making payments. Number 2, cancel the contract, give me a total of $750, or 3, go to court. She said, I don't agree with 1 and 2. So that left us coming to court.
Okay. Where is the bike now?
In my possession.
You have the title?
Yes.
I'd like the title, please. Thank you. Okay. Miss Morrow, you want to sign the title back over to Miss Wells, please?
There you go.
I have a counterclaim, sir.
It's going to be dismissed. Okay, fine. Would you give the title now to Miss Wells? And Miss Wells, you now have back the motorcycle, and I'm awarding the plaintiff $500, half of her deposit back, because I believe that you didn't really have the right to take back the motorcycle when you did. She wants her whole deposit back, but she actually used the motorcycle for 2 months, both she and her boyfriend. So I think that that's only fair.
All parties in the matter of Bittner versus Roberts. Step forward.
20-year-old Sophia Bittner is suing Amanda Roberts for the return of money she paid for a black Labrador.
Miss Bittner, on what date did you purchase a puppy from Miss Roberts?
On July 25th of 2015.
How did you find her?
Online, just on Facebook. There's public pages for Spokane classifieds, or like breeding and rehoming pages.
And you were looking for a particular kind of dog?
Yes.
What kind?
A black lab.
Okay, and that's what she had a litter of, black labs. Now, when you contacted her, did you make an appointment to go to see them?
Not specifically an appointment, but we kind of came up with a date to go and meet, yeah.
Well, that's an appointment.
Okay.
And that was on July 25th?
Yes.
Okay, and you went there, how many puppies were left?
2.
And you chose one?
Yes.
You negotiated a price? And the price was?
$450 was the price negotiated.
Okay. Did you sign a contract with her?
No.
So she gave you the puppy, you gave her $450, and you went home.
We gave her $460 because an ATM, it only comes out in multiples of 20, so we just said, don't give us change.
So you made her a gift of $10.
Right.
So the puppy was $450, and then you went home. And this is your boyfriend?
Yes.
You live together?
Yes.
And then you realized that this puppy business was not for you. It was a lot of work, a lot of mess.
We could do the mess, we could do the whining, just not in an apartment. It just wasn't right in an
Well,
apartment.
no, the mess and the whining is better in a house.
Yes.
Mess and whining is mess and whining. I don't care whether you're in a cubicle or in a palace. It's
Right.
still mess and whining. Okay, so you found that it was too much for you. How long did that take you to find that it was too much for you?
2 days.
I would suggest that you don't start a family right away. So after 2 days, you called the defendant back and said, I want to return the puppy.
We sent her a text message.
Okay, and what did she say?
And she said she would take the puppy back gladly. So then I asked if we could get our money back the same night, and she said that she would have to give us back a different time the money that she owed us.
Well, she didn't owe you anything, actually, because your contract was complete when she turned over the dog to you and you gave her the money. And you had no contract that said...
She said that she would pay us back, though.
Just a second.
Okay.
She was under no obligation to pay you back. You understand that. You could have sold the puppy to somebody else. Maybe. You understand that.
Okay.
You didn't have a contract that allowed you a trial run. So she said to you, I'll give you your money back? Or did she say, I'll give you your money back if I sell the puppy?
Yes, if she resold the dog. And when
Well, that's a different story. She said, I'll give you your money back if I resell the puppy. Did you resell the puppy?
No, I did not.
Who now owns the puppy?
A gal named Kelly.
How did you find her?
Off of Craigslist.
How long did you keep the puppy before you found her?
I had the puppy for about a month.
How old was the puppy then?
12 weeks.
What was it about this puppy that rendered it unsaleable?
Just starting to get older. People weren't wanting to pay the fee that I was asking, and I was moving.
When did you move?
I moved on September 1st.
And when did you give the puppy to Kelly?
A couple days before I moved.
Did you charge her any money for the puppy?
No, I did not.
You did not?
No.
I can't help you.
Even if I have text messages where she says she will pay me back once she resells the dog?
That's what she said. She said, I'll pay you back when I resell the dog. She's testified that she did not resell the dog, that she gave it to Kelly a day before she was supposed to move. A month later.
She just never told me that, and we had kept in contact for a month after, saying, you know, have you sold the dog? What's the update on the dog? Do you need help selling the dog? And she was like, no, I won't have your money until I sell the dog. And so we kept in contact until
she wasn't going to give you a dog when you already told her that you couldn't take care of the dog.
No, give us the money, I meant.
I don't give you the money. I'll give you the money when I sell the dog. I can't say... Listen, she is under no pressure to sell this dog for money because she's already gotten paid from you. Do you understand? She can give this dog away because her contract with you, her verbal agreement with you was, I will give you back your money when I resell the dog. And what Miss Roberts is saying, and which you have no evidence to the contrary to demonstrate to me, is that she never resold the dog. So she had no money to give back to you. Now, I don't know whether she did or she didn't, but she didn't promise to give you your money back. And unless you have some proof that she sold the dog, in which case I will absolutely give you back what she got for it if she sold it. Whether she got $450 or $250 or $150, I don't know. But you don't have any proof of that. Do you understand your problem?
Yes, I understand. I don't know how I would have known that she would have resold the dog if she completely cut off contact.
I don't know either.
Blocked me on everything.
I don't know either. Do you understand? You have a contract. Your first contract with her was, I am giving you $450, and in exchange for that, contract was completed. Your second agreement with her is, which you both agreed to, was, I will take back the puppy, and I will give you back your money when I resell the dog, so that I'm left whole, which she says she didn't do. I don't know whether she did or she didn't. She has to live with her own conscience about that. Do you understand? But she's under no pressure to sell your dog because she's already gotten paid for it. I mean, what if she gives the dog to her niece?
Right.
She said, I can give the dog to my niece. I said, I'd give you back your money if I sold it. She doesn't have what we call a fiduciary relationship with you. If you had an agreement with her that either in a month she would give you back your money, or sooner if she sold the dog, then you have a contract that says a month from today's date, which was whatever it was, August 25th, by August 25th, I'll give you back your money, or sooner if I sell the dog, then you have a deal. But she said, I'll give you back your money when and if I sell the dog. She says she didn't. So, got it? You look like a nice girl. I hope you didn't sell the dog.
No, I did not.
Okay, that's it.
Case.
All parties in the matter of Garcia versus Steckline. Step forward.
Samantha Garcia is suing her former tenant, Carrie Steckline, for a stolen camper and unpaid rent.
Ms. Garcia, you managed a house
that was a rental property that you thought was owned by your father. I gather your mother and your father are divorced?
They are.
The defendant was a tenant in that house. When did her tenancy begin?
September 2nd of 2014.
And she had a one-year lease?
That's correct.
And when did she leave the premises?
She's still currently there.
When did you and your family no longer have an interest in that house?
July 31st of 2015, the residence was sold.
By your mother?
That's correct.
So your father didn't own it?
That's incorrect.
He owned it with her?
That's correct.
Well, then he agreed to sell it.
That's correct.
Well, that's different, because that's different from what you say in your complaint. In your complaint, you say you managed the house for your father. Suddenly, my mother sold it.
That's correct.
Well, she couldn't have sold it without his consent if he also owned it. If it was jointly owned, she could not have sold it without his consent.
They were divorced 7 years into this divorce. After the divorce went on, then they were still going back and forth, because in the divorce it stated clearly that the residence where they resided was to be sold. However, it wasn't sold. My father was living there, and when he wasn't living there, he was renting it. And he was unaware of it in April that he was served papers to go back to court in July.
Let me ask you this question.
Yes.
You managed the house for your father.
Yes.
Parents were divorced.
Yes.
You collected rent.
Yes.
How much rent did you pay?
$700 a month.
What did you do with her $700 a month?
I gave it to my father.
Well, if the house was supposed to be sold, and first your father was living there so it wasn't sold, and then he had a tenant and was using the revenue for himself, there was a court order. Now, I understand there was a court order that said, you can't do that. And I'm going to give you, the ex-wife, permission to sell the house without his consent. The court gave your mother consent to sell the house because your father had been appropriating the money all during her tenancy, and probably during the tenancy of others in the house that he was living in for a while. So now I understand what happened. Is that far off?
Well, it's very close. However, it's
very
not
close.
accurate.
Yeah, I've been in the business a long time.
The verbiage was incorrect in the divorce decree.
Just a second.
Instead of
Tell me,
agreeal.
where did you go to law school?
I didn't.
Well, then you can't say that the verbiage in the decree was not clear. The verbiage was very clear. It probably said something like, as long as one of the parties to the marriage is still residing in the house, they can reside there for a certain number of years, and then the house is to be sold. Your father was living in the house, and he lived in the house for a while, and then he moved out of the house. He moved in with?
He moved in to another residence that he has in New York.
He moved to New York. Mm-hmm. With whom?
Nobody, with himself.
So he lives by himself.
Right.
And he uses this property as a business venture. You think he shared the rent with your mother?
I know that he didn't.
Of course. That's why she took him to court. And the court finally said, you've been squatting in this place long enough and collecting the rents. She now has permission to sell it. So in any event, your lease was terminated early.
Yes, ma'am.
Because a new owner came in.
Yes, ma'am. And I signed a new lease with the new owner.
Great. And when was the last time you paid rent to Miss Garcia for the benefit of her father?
For June, I paid her, and then July, she said her father said they could use my deposit for July. So that's what we did. And then August 1st, I signed with the new owner and started paying him.
Fine. What do you think she owes your father for? Not that she owes him anything, but why would you think she owes him?
For 2 months' rent, because
Which
the agreement was on the signed lease that she would keep it for a year. She started in February not making rent, making repeated excuses after excuse after excuse.
What month do you say she didn't pay rent?
She did not pay rent for the month of May, June, or July. We did agree in July to use her deposit for her last month's rent. She did not pay. She still owes 2 months' rent. I have my bank
So just
statement.
a second. To whom?
To my dad.
He shouldn't have been collecting the rent. That's what the court said.
That's not what the court said. The court agreed to sell the property.
No, the court agreed that your father's signature was no longer necessary to sell the property because he wasn't living there and he was using jointly owned property for his own business venture and not sharing with his partner. That's what the court said. That's why the court let your mother sell the house and not require signature. The court said, I'm signing for him because he has been abusing your mother for probably years by collecting the rent solely. You think I'm going to enrich him for that? That's not happening. The house was sold on July 31st?
Correct.
The other thing that you're suing for is a camper.
That's correct.
Was it on the property on August 1st? Yes. Then it doesn't belong to you anymore. Nothing on that property belongs to you or your father. Nothing.
And I understand that. I spoke
Good.
to
I'm glad you understand that. I've just explained it to you clearly. Nothing on that property belongs to anybody on your team after July 31st.
I tried to give it back to her, too.
Just as I don't care.
Okay. She didn't want it back.
I don't care.
Okay.
Evidently, the new people who own this place are satisfied with her as a tenant.
I spoke to the property owner, who's Alan. I spoke to him after he purchased the property. He gave me permission to go and get the...
I don't know that. That's hearsay.
No, I have evidence right here. I have messages.
Just a second.
That I can show
I'm
you.
not taking messages from a person who's not a party to this action. If you had a witness who owned the property, who said you can leave the camper on the property despite the fact that I have leased the property, I would like to examine that person. Have that person here.
He would not come.
Bye-bye.
Let's have a seat, huh?
So this is what I gather this is about, Miss Jones. This is your sister. You were in between houses and in between residences. According to you, you asked your sister to store 3 televisions at her house, 1 new one, 2 older ones. And she accommodated you, and in addition to accommodating you by letting you store the 3 televisions in the house, she also invited you and your daughter to come and live with her during the course of this transitional period, which was very nice of her. So far, am I correct?
No. Yes.
No what?
No, that there was not. There was one.
I'm telling you what she says.
Okay, well, whatever she.
What she says.
What I say.
She says there were 3 TVs.
Okay.
So you said, I don't want to stay with you, but my daughter will stay with you. I'll take you up on letting my daughter stay with you. And that was in what month and year that your daughter came to live with her?
February 2015.
And how long did she stay with her?
It wasn't even overnight. It was less than 24 hours.
Well, where were you going that it was only one night?
Oh, because I decided that it wasn't a good idea for her to stay there because me and Armika had fallen out that same night, and so I decided that it wasn't a good idea for her to stay there. So she
but
left.
she was going to stay there.
Yeah, she was going.
She was going to stay there for a longer period of time.
Exactly.
And the falling out that you had was about this trip that you took to the casino.
Yes.
Now, what I gather from the casino extravaganza was you got to the casino and your sister said to you, can you lend me $100 because I want to play the machines? Is that right?
Yes.
And you said, okay. Now, did you consider that $100 a loan?
Yes, she said she would give it back to me when we got back to her house.
Okay, so you gave her the $100, that was the loan. And that was the same day that you had stored the television, either 1, which is what she says, or 3, which is what you say, at the
Correct.
house.
Correct.
But with the $100, you were playing slot machines? Mm-hmm. She hit a $1,500 jackpot.
Correct.
And she gave you your $100 back.
Yes.
And the fight was you thought she should have split that money with you because but for the fact that you gave her the $100, she wouldn't have won anything. So that's what the fight was about.
No.
Sure it was.
No, it wasn't.
Tell me what the fight was about.
The fight was about because I asked her for my $100 and she didn't think that she should have given it to me then. Her exact words were, didn't I tell you that I would give it to you when I get home? Well, then I need to wait till we get back to her house. Why should I have to wait when you have the money right here? And that's
Is that what happened?
Yes. The agreement was I made $500 off the 100. She came to me, she said, have you made anything? I said, yes, I made $500. She said, well, can I get my 100? I said, no. I said, the agreement was when we got home, because I had money stored at home. I ended up hitting the jackpot after the $500. I handed her her $100 bill, and then she turns around and says, oh, but you still owe me $5. If we're talking about, oh, you still owe me $200 from a year ago that you brought on the grand that I loaned you. I don't owe you anything. Real nasty. So I had my daughter give her the $5. She received her money. Her daughter came and picked her up. I have not seen her till the 18th when they violently came to my home, all 3 of them, and tore my door up.
Okay. So you had a fight over money.
Basically jealousy.
Probably. And stubbornness. Mm-hmm. A little bit. Because you could have given her back the $100.
But I was hot.
You could have been hot with $400 instead of $500.
It was 2 of us on it. It was me and my daughter.
So what? So what? She was short of ensuring that she would get her $100 back. In any event, so you had this argument, you got home, and that was on what date?
That was on the morning, like at 6 in the morning of the 18th.
18th of?
February.
Okay. Now, when did you come back for your television set?
Well, that afternoon she sent me a text with her and her daughters on this text and this picture with this big check on it for like $2,300. So she sent me this picture, and I texted her back, and I told her, good for you, but who cares?
When did you go for your television set?
After that text, she texted me back and said, well, you have till 2 o'clock to come and get your stuff out of my garage, unless I'm having a garage sale with your stuff, all of your things, or either I'm going to drop them off to your friend's house, and she named 2 of my friends. I have the text messages right here.
So did you go at 2 o'clock?
I was there at 1:15.
Fine. And what happened?
I told her that I'm coming with the peace officer because I didn't want any problems. And so she said, well, since you're coming with the police, you better have all your receipts for all of your things. She also sent me that in a text message. So when I called the peace officer, they told me to wait at the corner, and he would go to the door first. So I guess that's what they did, because when they had me drive down, she had only slid one television, and that was the one I had purchased the night before, out of her garage instead of all 3 of my televisions.
Okay. Other than the televisions, did you store anything else there?
Yes.
Okay. So there were other things there?
Yes.
What other things?
A shampoo cleaner and my small bathroom television set. And it was also a flat screen.
Just a second. And you got that?
Yeah, I got it.
You got that? And you got your shampooer?
Yes. Her daughter threw the television set out at me and hit me in the mouth when we went to the door to get my TV. She threw the small one at me. And then the shampooer my auntie brought to the house Easter.
You got it?
Yeah, but I just got it.
And Officer Smith, the officer that came out, he helped her tie down a 60-inch that she bought at Best Buy, still in the box, onto her car. Now, the other TV that she's implying about, on the 13th, the 12th, before she bought that 60-inch, I purchased a 55-inch from her for $255 in her home. Her sons helped it load up in my daughter's car.
Okay, just a second. So what you're telling me is, before she bought the new 60-inch, just her old TV.
Exactly.
For $250.
Correct.
That was a 55-inch TV.
Correct.
That's not true.
So what is she claiming? You want something back that you know I purchased
just
from
a second. Is what you're telling me, Miss Jones, that you did not sell your sister days before you bought this new TV, your old TV, for $250?
No, I did not.
I don't believe you. Don't believe you.
I'm going to tell you what happened.
Just a second. I'm telling you, I don't believe that.
I'm going to tell you like I told her. I was not selling anything until I bought myself a new television set.
I don't believe you.
Okay.
The same night.
Just a second. So, you got everything that you're entitled to. You got a new TV, which she had for you, and the 2 other TVs that you're talking about. You have a small bathroom TV and a 55-inch TV, which is the one you're talking about, which I find you sold to your sister. So your case is dismissed. Now, let's get to your counterclaim.
Thank you.
Did you call Child Protective Services on your sister?
Yes, I did.
Is that before or after you went to the casino with her?
That was probably before. I don't remember what day it was.
Well, you mean, is what you're telling me, you called Child Protective Services because you believed that your sister was endangering her children and then you went casino hopping with her? Is that what you're telling me?
No, that's not what I'm telling you.
How many times have you called Child Protective Services on your sister?
I called on her one time.
One time. And what you're telling me is you want me to believe that you called Child Protective Services to report child abuse, neglect, starvation, whatever it was that you reported on your sister. And then you continued this relationship with her. You went to Best Buy with her when you bought the TVs and went to the casino together, and you were going to allow your daughter to stay in her house for an extended period of time. That's what you told me until the fight. And all of that after you had called Child Protective Services to say she was an unfit parent. You were going to allow your daughter to stay there?
My daughter is an adult.
I'm just asking you a question. Is what you're telling me that you were allowing your daughter to stay in her home knowing that you took the step of calling Child Protective Services to report her as an unfit person? You want me to believe that? I don't believe anything you just said to me.
I haven't said anything.
Oh, yes, you did. You said to me, I don't know whether I called Child Protective Services before or after.
I don't remember the date that I called them.
And all I asked you was it before or after the television kerfuffle?
It was the same week of it.
Your case is dismissed. Judgment on the counterclaim, $1,500. Thank you very much, and that's for calling in a report of suspicion.
Xin chào mọi người đã quay trở lại với kênh của mình. Và ngày hôm nay chúng ta có một bức tranh và chúng ta sẽ cùng nhau tô màu cho bức tranh này nhé. Như vậy là chúng ta đã hoàn thành xong.
चलो बेटा किट्टू देखो
देखो इधर
टोपी हटा टोपी हटाओ
हम करें हैप्पी बर्थडे मिडिल फिंगर हाँ हेलो
ऐसे कर
किट्टू बोलो हाय केक कट रहा है वीडियो कॉल करो हाय बाय हाय बाय हाय बाय बाय बाय
चलो
बर्थडे बॉय बर्थडे बॉय
चलाना नहीं इसके इनपुट डालो
फोड़ दिया
किट्टू बैठो ना बीच में
ये
इसको पैंट
देखो जना रहा है मम्मी वो वाला ऐसे बड़ा काकू बड़ा वाला ये देखो
बड़ा वाला नहीं
हम 6 साल के हो गए 6 ना लगा
हाँ 8 लगाएगा 10
अभी 2 लगाए हैं तुम लोग 50 साल के हुए तो 50 हम 5 ईयर 6 ईयर ओल्ड हो गए
हाँ 6 ईयर ओल्ड
हो गया
मेरा
कितना बरस देखो किट्टू 1 मिनट
कटेगा सो बताओ
ठीक से रहो ना
किट्टू इधर भी और ये बेड़ी मौज कर दी
देखो देखो इधर तीनों
इधर
जाओ तुम जाओ तुम्हारा ही फोटो आएगा
नहीं हम थे हमको भी एक बार हम भी
रुक जा
हम
इनको तो खाने दो तो उसको गोदी में लेने दो तो एक बार
नहीं छोड़ो
केक के तो गिर जाएगी
देखो किट्टू
वो केक खराब आज
चलो
कौन है तुम्हारे कैमरा में मम्मी
हम फोटो खींचे
दादी तुम्हारे कैमरा में
इधर देखो तीनों
ओ ओ ओ
चलो
हम दोनों में दादी
मेरा बनौरी जैसा
तो बनौरी तो जैसा रहोगे वैसे
काकू काकू
लेना
काकू ये देखो
किट्टू खड़े हो
कैमरा
मोमबत्तियाँ देखो किट्टू इधर
देखो इधर देखो
ये देखो कैमरा
कहाँ गया चाकू
चाकू इसी सबको दिए हुए थे
क्या किया रे चाकू
अभी है
चाकू
चकुआ का किया
गिरा कर ले ले
लो 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 चलो कबीर
कबीर
रुको रुको एक
रुक जा 1 मिनट रुको
ये देखो कैमरा ये देखो कैमरा
मेरा आ रहा है कैमरा में
दिखाओ तो
ये सीधी
तेरे जल जावे
ये छिटरे मौत मारी
तो ना दिखाती
टोपिया को पहने टोपिया टोपिया का पहने टोपिया का पहने टोपिया टोपिया का पहनेगा टोपिया टोपिया का पहने
टूटू वाला
कोची की फोटो ले लियो
फिर कबाड़ रहे ले
क्यों चक्कर आ रही हो मारेंगे आज का मैंने बर्थडे का वो केक खराब किया कैमरा अच्छा बात कर सिर्फ बात का बर्थडे था तो यहाँ मनाते
फोटो ले लिया
से दे
फोटो नहीं लिया
दिखाए एक दिन एक को केक लाए तीनों को
और हमको
मोमबत्तियाँ थी हुई थी
Happy birthday to you.
जल्दी आइए इधर मोमबत्ती पिघल रहा है
अच्छा से लगा
मेरा तू ले रही थी तुम लोग हमको गुस्सा आ रहा तुम लोग से
गुस्सा नहीं तुम्हारा बर्थडे है आज किट्टू तुम्हारा बर्थडे ना ऐसे नहीं करते
बाप रे काट देगा क्या सोच
गजब है जी सीधे ना करो छोड़ दो भैया का बर्थडे है
चलो चलो किट्टू इधर देखो जल्दी जल्दी खड़ा हो जा आगे बेटा इधर बीच में आ जा इधर सीधे थोड़ा सा यहाँ पे बीच में
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday dear Chinwan. Happy birthday to you. From good friends and true. From good friends and may good luck go with you.
पूरा कपड़ा में लगा दिया
चलो चल देख के हाँ बस कोई बात नहीं
कितने इसको पकड़ो केक काटो आओ काटो
कैसा लगा पहली बार के
काटो किट्टू
फूल रखो फूल ले ले खड़ा कर दिया
चलो काटो एक बार काटे वो अच्छे से काटो फोटो खींच दे
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to dear one.
एक बार फिर से फोटो नहीं आया है
From good friends and true. From all friends and may good luck go with you.
Hey
Info bells. ये लो तो
चलो लो फोटो
लो के
इधर देखो
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to dear one. Happy birthday.
अपना माथा पर कैसा
ये देखो किट्टू हाय करो अब नहीं हम करना तुम जाओ ना भाई भाई
लो चलो खिला दिया हो गया तुम भी खिलाओ दादी को
Info bells.
धीमे बाय करो मम्मी बाय करो बाय करो
Happy birthday.
अब तो लाओ किट्टू काट दे रुको तुम उसका निकाल
Happy birthday.
बाय करो
लाओ तुमको भी टिका
बाय करो
वीडियो कॉलिंग बना रहे हैं
नो भैया खिला देगा ये देख किट्टू
एक सेकंड
आप भी लो खिलाओ दीदी को दीदी खिला ठीक है वो उतना भूख आओ इधर दीदी अच्छा तो साथ तुम खाओ
जाना जी बनाइए देंगे जा
Happy birthday. Happy
इधर देखो
रुको रुको किट्टू हटो ना कुशाल
हटो हटो चल जाओ बाबा तुम जल्दी जा फोटो ले
दो ना जी हम
जाओ उधर सोफा पर जाओ हाँ क्यों
भैया प्यारा यही सब गलत आदत है किट्टू मम्मी खिला दी
चल इधर देखो
कुशाल
वहाँ जा
जाओ वहाँ बैठो ना
वहाँ बैठो बाबा
भाई के पास इधर से जाओ ना अरे वो चप जाएगी उसको दो
birthday.
इधर
देखो इधर